intros now.
All right,
Awesome.
we're live.
We're live. This is weird now. Like somehow once you actually go live, things get weird.
Yeah.
I don't know why. I think I guess it's been the time that it's been since I've actually, I guess I've streamed. Like I've streamed a couple games here or there, but like I haven't done a podcast in like, what's it, 9 months?
Like 9 months ago. Yeah.
So I don't know. It's weird.
Well, thanks for having me back on. We should do this at least once a year.
Yeah.
At least.
And I was like, there's no way anyone will be on this podcast more than you. You will be the most reoccurring. You're like the what's the dude that's always on Joe Rogan's podcast?
Oh, there's tons of guys like
guys
that.
That just like every time there's like a, I don't know, like 20,
like Tom Papa has been on there like
Papa,
tons of times.
Yeah, I don't know. It's pretty cool.
Yeah,
I also just like, I think of all the people, we have the most, like I feel like I don't have to like cage anything.
Right.
Like
Right.
we can just talk about different shit. So
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think when I discovered podcasting was like a thing, it was like, this is my medium. Like TV shows are good, music's good, video games are awesome. Like there's so much good, awesome media. But to me, like podcasts, just something about listening to someone talk, it's like, you don't have that distraction. I know we're doing video, but like you just don't have that distraction of just like, you just listen to what they're saying. And I just love the conversation. I love when like those Joe Rogan podcasts. I discovered them when I was in Spain, and nobody around me was speaking English, and I was like, this kind of sucks. Like, I just want to listen to people speak English, and it was like weird. And so I just discovered podcasts. I was like, why would someone like watch something for like an hour, 2 hours, 3 hours? And I would just go on these walks like around Madrid for just hours, and I would just listen. And he's like funny. He's got funny, interesting people. The topics. I mean, he's a good like speaker, and he gets other people, and he draws like different conversations. So I just like fell in love with podcasts, and you find so many other people from one podcast that you're like, all right, this is an interesting person. Let's go listen to them. Let's branch off. And it's so easy to consume. It's just just listening.
That was one of the things I kind of learned pretty early on, was like, there are a lot of people in my life that I just kind of see or talk to, or friends with, or whatever. And then like in having them on the podcast, I would learn so much more about them. And I'm like, oh shit, like you're actually like a really interesting person. Like
you're locked in.
Yeah, like I had this super surface level thing, but like if I had done just a little bit deeper, and I guess that's not something that like you get to do, especially like right now, everybody's like kind of cooped up and whatnot. But I don't know. I think that's the thing I like about podcasts is like I watched Bill Burr and Jim Gaffigan.
Yeah.
They had a podcast.
Okay, yeah.
Which it's funny because like if you think of those two like comedic styles, they're not similar, but they're such similar people. Just like they choose to like express.
Are they similar people? I didn't watch the podcast.
They're very similar people.
Yeah.
It's very funny.
I've seen them both live.
They're both just like ripping on each other the entire time.
Okay.
It's very funny. But there's a side I think to, because I watched Bill Burr's podcast, or listened to.
Do you like watching podcasts?
I like watching podcasts if I'm doing something else, like say I'm playing a game or I'm working on a video or something like that, working on something on one monitor, I'll have a podcast on the other monitor that's playing. My focus isn't there, but I do like because there's another podcast I watch. Oh, you're good. And they talk. Most of it's all, you can always get them on audio, right?
Right.
But this podcast in particular, they do some like visual gags.
Okay, right.
So every now and then you're like, okay, cool, I want to see what they're talking about, what they're doing. Like
I have like the opposite experience. So I've been listening to Tim Dillon lately.
Okay, yeah.
So Tim Dillon's hilarious. I listened to him during the pandemic, and 2 years ago we're all locked up, and this dude is just crazy, from Long Island, and he's going off about how the world's over. That's it. We're done. And it's just so funny, his take on it. I was dying laughing. And I figured out that he does the video podcast. Okay. He told you, like, don't watch the video. I don't know what you're doing here on YouTube. If you're on YouTube, stop. Like, cancel this. Go listen to this. Should be audio only, because he's like, he riffs on himself. He's a bit of a fat bastard, but he's he's like, I'm an audio type of person only. And so it's so funny the kind of gags he does. But anyway, like, it's the opposite. Yeah.
I don't really want to talk about it, but I want to make sure I'm thinking of the right person.
Yeah.
Did he not just get into like a whole bunch of like weird shit with like something he wrote about like cucking or something of that nature? Is that the same guy I'm thinking
I don't think that's Tim Dillon. Tim Dillon was on with Alex Jones and Joe Rogan, and he had a free Ghislaine Maxwell shirt.
He's got the big beard, right?
No. No.
I'm thinking of someone else. My bad.
No, he's like a big Irish guy.
Okay, yeah, no, this is not the same person.
Yeah,
I was like,
yeah,
man.
from Long Island, but you know.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, man. I guess I'll ask you first. Like, what? I know you've been pumping stuff out on your YouTube for like. You have not stopped, really. I was gonna say like talk about how I stopped, but like you never stopped. Like you were.
It's infrequent at times, but yes, I keep going on it. Yeah.
Like I mean, I looked. There was like you'd see one that's a month ago, 2 weeks ago, or like maybe 3 months ago. Like so, but I don't know. Like, have you felt that like things have changed drastically on your channel, or you think everything's kind of?
Yeah. So I've always had the thought process, like, I don't know what the hell to do on a channel, right? Like I just, is it something I'm trying to get lots of views on? Yeah. Is it something I want to be interested in? Yeah. Is it a creative sort of endeavor? Like, I think yes to everything. So I kind of take it as like, it's like art. I'm not a good musician. I'm not a good artist. I want to create something though. And so I'm not good at even like video production or anything like that. So, like I did a podcast. I've had you on a couple times. I had me and Corey talking about movies.
Yeah.
So everyone knows Corey Montoya has been on this podcast, and I still live with him. He's my roommate.
Yeah.
Actually lives in my house, but I make him call me Lord because landlord. So he doesn't like it, but he pays me. So no, shouts out to Corey. Me and him did a podcast. He got bored of doing that, so it's like we never got lots of views on that. But here's the thing that's been popping off recently, as of 4 months ago. I don't know where I got this idea, but I read a book online called Applied Magic. It was by this lady named Dion Fortune.
Okay.
And I just read the audiobook online. It's 4.5 hours long. I was like, what the hell is this? You know, and I've been doing lots of like research into, I'm gonna go into the whole thing. Here we go.
Yeah, you're good.
I'm gonna keep this a little grounded, but I just go where the ideas take me, and I just ride it till I'm not interested anymore, which is in certain topics like ancient history, psychedelics, occult magic, sex, religion, just how people operate. People who think they are practicing magic, like what are they thinking? Like, and to be clear, I don't believe I'm a 21st century person. I have a normal job. I'm like, you know, but I like reading and thinking about crazy ideas. So I want to see if a person with a crazy idea is grounded or if they're just totally full of crap. So I was like, all right, this lady from the 60s in England thought she was practicing magic, and she had a group of people around her that she was teaching the ancient ways of magic, whatever that means. And so I was like, what does this mean? And she wrote a book called Applied Magic. And I was thinking with YouTube stuff, you can't read, I got to read something that's interesting to me because I got to read it.
Right.
Interesting to the viewers, something to clickbait. I want people to click on it. Right. So, and I have to have something that's not in the public that is in the public domain, because you can't have, you know, like a modern day book that everyone wants to read.
Yeah.
And I didn't want it to do super like fiction, because like LibriVox and the library kind of has Charles Dickens and like famous fiction literature that people would read. So I had to choose something reality in the public domain that's not in this century. So I kind of just chose something from 1960 about magic that I thought people would click on.
Right.
As I was reading through it, I learned a lot, and I don't know if it's crap or not, but I learned a lot of interesting things. So like the reason that crowds in a concert act the way they do. So yeah, like I'll get into that a little bit.
Yeah.
So she thinks that a form of magic is taking control of a crowd and being able to manipulate a crowd, because then it creates beings that she calls elementals that are on higher planes that are group thinking. So yeah, I mean, stop me anytime. What do you think?
I think that's funny because like
It's crazy shit.
Well, it's like a ramp. Like you start off being like, I think it's magical, like taking control over a crowd of people. I'm like, yeah, it's
Okay, I'm
cool.
with you. Yeah.
Like, yeah, I'm with you. Like, I've played music, like I've sung before, like I've done like entertaining things, and like, yeah, like I've been a part of like different productions and stuff. So I'm like, okay, yeah, cool. Like,
Right,
yeah,
right.
that is a very cool. You can call that magical moment, and then the moment you're like, it creates elementals, and I'm like, all right, well, we're in D&D land now. Like, what the fuck? Like,
what do you think I'm like thinking when I'm reading through this?
It's just
And,
so funny.
dude, I get like, I shouts out to all the people who watched and left nice comments, but man, I click on their profiles, I'm like, oh boy.
So wait, like, now I'm curious. Is it like the majority of the people that are commenting on those videos, is it like people that do believe in that stuff, or is it people that are just entertained by it? Or can you not really tell?
I can't really tell. I think there's definitely a lot of people that believe in it because they have lots of videos. So I should mention I got 35,000 views on that one.
That's pretty dope.
Yeah, it is dope. I was very happy with that. I got 750 subscribers. Going from like none to 750 is significant for me only because it's kind of cool to see.
Yeah.
Like, oh, I'm getting a lot of attention on it. And so I clicked on the people's profile. Everyone's very nice. Like, there's people that are like, your voice sounds like crap. I'm like, all right,
Okay, yeah.
fair enough. Okay. But yeah, I mean, there's a couple, like, you know, anybody who believes in Wiccan or occult, like, what does that mean? Are you using your rational mind? Like, I don't know. I made a couple videos after that, sort of like emphasizing critical thinking because you shouldn't believe everything you hear and read. Like, I don't want people to.
Okay, guys, there's 35,000 you guys. That there's something just so we know, just we're back on the same page. This is how you actually think about stuff. That's hilarious.
Right. All right, let me talk about the elemental thing.
Okay.
So she described that there are other planes, which I'm kind of. If we step back from, you know, is reality real, or are there other things that, like, when you're dreaming, you're in a different state? If you're taking psychedelics, are you in a different mode of thinking? Like the tribes in South America that take ayahuasca,
right?
They independently have gone down and shaman have like painted pictures of what they see in the ayahuasca dreams, and it's like this village and tribe has never interacted with this village and tribe, and they have the same jaguar leopards. Like, people should Google this and look up themselves, like ayahuasca paintings. It's like the same, and they believe, as part of their religion in some cases, that when you take ayahuasca, you go into an alternate dimension, and they all link up together, and you learn from the spirit mother that. You know, and I'm getting into crazy stuff, but this is, you know.
Like, man, I've always wanted to have that experience. I've talked a lot about, with friends of mine, like, if ayahuasca wasn't like if there wasn't such a process for me to get it, I would absolutely try.
Okay.
I think from what I've heard about the experience of psychedelics, like, I've done like very soft stuff. Those experiences are so. It seems so life-changing for a bunch of people that I want to experience it. It might do nothing for me. It might not change the way I look at things at all, but from hearing how much it has for other people, in my head, I'm just like, what is that? Like, I want to know about that. Like, it seems very.
It's going on like an adventure. It's a trip,
and it seems like you can't just read about it.
No,
it's something that you have to experience. So I don't know what would be the more accessible equivalent to that, but
what do you think of when Joe Rogan talks about DMT and the machine elves? Like, do you think he's just crazy? Because he's describing another dimension. Like,
every time I hear someone describe something like to that degree, the fact that I hear someone else describe taking the same substance or same, like, whatever, and having a completely different thing, I'm like, okay, so this is something that's very pertaining to you. Like, whatever that means or whatever, it's something that's more. Not everyone's gonna have that experience.
Yeah. Okay.
So, but that doesn't make me go, oh, this is bullshit. It makes me go like, what would be my experience?
Yeah.
What like it still makes me more intrigued to find out if that makes any sense.
Sure.
So.
Let me give you my short thoughts about like science, like because I think people over assign scientific thought, like the power that science can give you. So obviously I'm like a scientifically minded person,
Right.
rational. I'm not like into crazy stuff. Like I like reading about crazy ideas, but I try to keep my mind pretty like
Right.
think critically, all this stuff. And so with science, Fauci had that comment
Yeah.
that I am science, which everyone has commented afterwards that that's not how science works.
Yeah.
Okay, science is a process where you guess at things, and like the theory of gravity is still just a theory. It's you can't prove it. It's just every time we drop something, it goes to yeah. So we have this theory of gravity, but we can't like really prove it. We don't have laws that say this. Like they have Bayesian analysis, which is you can't discount impossible events. You just have to assign them a 0.00001% possibility.
Okay.
So then you start from there and work up your Bayesian priors to reasonably predict with high percentage accuracy that the sun will rise tomorrow. Or people have said the COVID lab leak could happen. It came from a lab versus a zoonotic, origin. And there's evidence that China's covered it up and stuff. So people at first were like, that's 0% possibility of happening. But the real scientific way of doing it is we don't have a determination yet. Let's be open-minded and don't just follow an individual, follow the methodology. Right. This is just a long way of saying you can't take the world and the universe and all crazy things out there and just say, oh, scientifically, science disproves it. It's like, I don't think science disproves things. It just points us in the right direction and says, like, this theory, we're open to it, and we haven't disproved it yet, but it seems unlikely.
Whenever I hear you say like science doesn't disprove things, in my head, like I hear that sentence and I go, but wait a minute,
okay.
Like doesn't that can't be right, because science will prove that I guess not prove. Man, see, that's the thing. Yeah. So it's like in my head I go, well, science is going to prove that if I let go of this cup, it's going to go down. It will prove that it's not going to go up.
Yeah.
In our current circumstances,
right?
Like in us sitting here at this table, like this, if I let go of this, it will go down. So like,
it would not be accurate to say science proves that happens. It would say you would say we can't. It's just the most likely outcome with an extremely high probability, because on if you run the math, and if you run if we do the experiment 100 times, it's going to happen 100 times out of 100.
Right.
But by the nature of doing experiments, you have to leave open the possibility of the null hypothesis. The opposite is true. How likely is that to happen? And they have a reproducibility problem in primarily social science experiments. So like most of psychology textbooks, they run it, or studies that they do in regards to psychology.
Okay.
You can't replicate them. So if they say 60 people did this one psychological thing, so that proves it to be true.
Yeah.
You can't go back, and if you try to repeat it, it can't be done. So I'm not saying science is false. I'm saying it's a tool to orient us in the direction of truth, of whatever that is.
The orient us into the direction that is closest to truth. That makes sense. That sounds like it's more accurate in my head, just because like if you want to get to a point where you're not like assigning this is truth, you can get really close to it. It's like one of those things you can get super close to it, but you can't.
An asymptote.
Right.
Yeah.
Like I think that's the way that makes more sense in my head.
Right. Right.
That could be me coming from like a very religious background, because that's like that's their whole thing.
Right.
Is like you don't get to know, but like this is as close as you get, and the rest is all faith. So, and in a sense, there's some of that in science too.
Well, that's like the faith of science. Right. It's like, well, Fauci said it has to be true, so therefore what he says He's guessing too. I mean, if he's being completely honest, I'm not trying to disparage him.
Right.
You know, I think he's, you know, good or whatever and net positive for America. But it just isn't the case that because an individual says something that it is true. No, that's just your perspective on it. And I'm not trying to make this like I think that I'm not making the case per se that there is no like objective reality, but if you think about it, who individually can say that there's objective reality? It's kind of the thing that we both agree upon, but it's in our minds. Like everything that I'm thinking and doing, I almost have to like look to other people and go, do you guys agree with?
It's like colors.
How do you prove that blue is blue?
Yeah, like is my blue the same thing as your blue?
Yeah,
it's my red. Like you don't know that. There's really no way to know that.
Yeah,
like we don't, not yet anyway. Like I
don't think you'll ever prove that.
I think you can. So
okay,
now this is me.
I'm talking my ass the whole time, dude.
Same,
I'm not.
dude,
like, don't listen to me. Like
the only reason I say this is because partially is because I've been on like watching a bunch of sci-fi films and like TV shows. I've been on a kick of that. But like I can think of, there could be a point in time where like something takes the signal from our eyes that goes to our brains and gives us our definition of color.
Yeah.
And take that data, digitize it, and put it on a screen.
Yeah.
If what I would call blue is able to be recorded on a screen, and
encode it,
you would call blue
yeah,
is able to be recorded on the screen, and they're different, then that's how we could be able, that's how I think we'd be able to differentiate it. This is like some future shit.
Sure.
Like
well,
I don't
Neuralink.
Right. Yeah. I mean, yeah, that's true. Like, you know, I guess it's future-esque, like kind of like it's not, maybe not as far off as I think.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think that's possible. I guess the question I would have is I wonder what that would do for us as humans. Like,
well, you would have like other cultures that aren't as like science and the age of enlightenment is only been around. It's like primarily Eurocentric and Western culture. It's been around since the 1700s. We did have some algebra and math and geometry that we learned. Geometry learned from the Greeks. Algebra we learned from Saudi Arabia, kind of the Middle East, like back in the day. And some of that knowledge was lost and sort of rediscovered. But we think that that's how this is a popular thing about postmodernism, categorize the world in a modern set way of thinking, that you take all the insects and you try to categorize them, and the plants, and we haven't discovered this plant yet, when they're sort of mutating, and then you go to a place like Madagascar and it throws all your prior assumptions.
You're like,
because
okay.
Yeah, it's literally an island with its own evolution that's been happening for hundreds of years on a little island alone. So where am I going with this? I'm going with this to say that this is kind of a recent development, and so that's why I like learning about religions and crazy occult stuff, because they think differently from that, and they try to apply it to a Western rational Enlightenment thinking. I
was gonna say, so the thing that is always like kind of, I won't say bothered me, but I've always had this kind of thought in the back of my mind when it comes to like magicians and like Wiccan-esque stuff. Like they have a goal. Like there's a purpose. Like they're not like utilizing what they would call magic for just the sake of utilizing it. They're using it usually for some benefit, either towards the person that they're using it for or themselves, whether it's in the form of entertainment or something. Like there's always some kind of thing. So it's like they are anchored in what the collective, I guess, what people would call reality. So I wonder how much of it is an act. Like how much of it, how self-aware are they of it?
I was interested in that exact same question. Yeah. What I've found from that is that at no point did the people that believe this stuff for real, because I've read a couple books now at this point, of people that believe in this stuff, they don't think that they're breaking the laws of physics as we know. They're not. They're just trying to change. So you mentioned something about before the podcast about sort of like thinking something into reality.
Okay.
So if you think something into reality, that's a form of magic to them, because you're taking a thought and from they would say from God or from a spiritual place that your five senses don't know about, so something internal, and making that into reality. You're changing the world around you, and you're if you're really good, if you're a charismatic person. So what does charisma mean? When we say someone's charismatic, it's almost like they have a magical quality that gets you to listen to them or follow them and then accomplish the task that if 10 humans put their head towards something, they can accomplish. Like, building a skyscraper is an unnatural form of defying reality. Yeah.
So I would say, especially when it comes to like things like charisma. Now, Aljo would be very like, no, we know what charisma is. Like you can define like different aspects of charisma to a certain extent. Like again, this is Aljo. Aljo would be like, okay, so this person they know how to mirror people, or they know if they're with a crowd of people, they're able to pick up on different small cues that people do to get the response that they're looking for, whether it's to like make people afraid, make them happy, like charismatic people. Sometimes people just have that innately, and then there's people that are like mentalists. People like that like they generally speaking, most mentalists are very charismatic people because they're able to pick up on little small things. They're not doing anything like supernatural.
They can make a mistake look like they meant to do it all along.
So like to me, because I can define those type of things about charisma, it would be difficult for me to say that that's magical. Now, I think current Dejo would probably.
But what is it?
That's the thing. So it's like there are certain things.
What's the science of it?
I guess the science of it would be like, if I say this thing or I say this sentence and person A frowns a bit, or maybe they have a small like twitch, like, oh, I recognize that.
Yep.
That means that they took this X way. So because they took it X way, I can. It's almost like a flow chart,
right?
Like a tree.
Yeah.
So like, to me, that's the science of charisma.
Okay.
Like, and it's also something I think is not. Some people are innately better at it.
Okay.
But I do think it's a skill
that
almost anyone could learn and develop. So
what about I was really interested in this when you have Joe Rogan talks about this a lot, like stand-up comedy, and can you murder a crowd? Like, can you like get them to be laughing so much that they're thinking the way you're thinking, and that you're a professional comedian, so you know what's funny, and then you're getting them into your way of thinking, and you're taking hold, and you're like, it's almost like group hypnosis, and you're getting them to just laugh and then build on that laughter.
Yep.
That takes skill. It takes experience. There's some natural aspect of just being funny to about it, but that was also mentioned in the book, is that what human attention and focus, whatever a lot of humans focus on, that's magic. Like if you can, that's why a lot of like magicians and stuff, they wear purple robes or flashy stuff to get people
out.
A little bit cringy, but it's the red is it red pill, the guys that try to teach other guys how to hit on women. The not con artists, but the
pickup artists.
Pickup artists. Yeah. So if you watch those pickup artists, they try to teach these awkward guys how to grab the attention of women, and they.
I'm gonna put this disclaimer out there. Don't. Just don't.
Figure it out.
Just save yourself.
Figure it out yourself.
I might make. Man, I feel like there's enough YouTube videos out about that stuff, so I don't want to. Every time I see it, there's a thing inside me that's like, man, I should make a video about this. This is bad. But then like that, it kind of peaks and then wanes. So I don't know, because there's a lot of stuff out there already. Just don't.
But don't you think that there's something about, you can pick up maybe 10% of something a pickup artist is doing and sort of be like, okay, you got to catch a woman's attention. You got to get them to,
Sure.
right? There's something about it.
So, man, I think about this stuff a little bit differently. Because if you're going, I guess, okay, so it depends on what your goal is, in my opinion, specifically when it comes to this.
Yes, your intentions have to be good. Yeah.
Well, it's not. They don't even need to be good. Like, because
They ought to be.
They probably should be good. Well, okay, let me define good. Don't assault people. Don't harass people. That's not what I mean.
Leave them alone if they don't want to.
Yeah, if they don't want to be touched, don't touch them. Like that's not what I'm talking about. What I'm getting at is like, some people would say that like one night stands is not good. Like there's something immoral about that. That's what I mean when I say they don't have to be good or whatever. What I'm saying is like, if your goal is just to sleep with someone, the way that you're entering in that situation or your mind frame is like totally different than if you're just. That's why I hate the phrase like pick up girls.
Right.
What does that mean?
Yeah.
Like are you trying to pick up a girlfriend?
Right.
Are you trying to pick up someone that you just want to have sex with? Like,
right.
These mean completely like the approach to that is completely different. Like
I saw a clip of Theo Von talking about. He's like
he's so good.
He's like just in the Theo Von way. He's just like most people don't even put on pants to go out the house unless they think there's a chance they're gonna get laid.
Yes.
It's like
yeah.
I was like, there's some truth to that.
There's
like
some truth to that.
Now, but to your point, it's like you can't. That's also the if you watch James Bond movies, like the way James Bond sort of woos women is that he's not trying to, it's not the first thing. He's usually like it's an accidental. He's trying to get to the bad guy, runs into a woman, and then does something impressive, and then she, it's never like the direct like, hey, can I buy you a drink and can we do this thing that I want to do, and let me take
like that comes up, but it's
right. You got to be subtle. You got to be can't be your primary purpose. All that stuff. Yeah. But I mean, I don't know why I went with pickup artists, but
because you were talking about like the way that they influence like the audience that like watches their stuff.
That's the thing with like leadership. To get people attention for podcasts, for YouTube, for marketing, it's all trying to make a scientific method or a Western method to build up a company to get people's attention, so they can give you dollars because you're trying to build value. Like that's what we're trying to do by creating content that make people watch. Just trying to, and that, maybe I'm analyzing this because I have a business degree, so I'm trying to think like marketing is the magic of trying to get people to pay attention to whatever it is you're trying to sell. And you got to have a good product. You got to have, you got to follow through on your, build up reputation, trust. Yeah. You got to deliver a good product. But there is something about marketing that, and then it comes down to what's the purpose of human attention. Why is it so valuable? Not just because of money, but it's just there's something like spiritual about a person that is paying attention to something, or what's in your mind that you think about. That's a form of worship. It's like whatever you do every day that you think of that nobody else is in your mind forcing you to do this thing. For you, it might be like literally like fighting or working out, because those are the things. I don't want to say you're worshiping them, but you are dedicating your life. Yeah, I mean, do you feel that? No,
I think that's a fair like assessment. Someone could like, would I really say that about what I do?
They call the gym the temple. I mean, right?
Like yeah, like it's like there's some like connection there. Like I don't think I would go around being like, I worship the gym. Like it's more of
no, but isn't that what worship means? I mean, I've been looking at religion, and that's kind of what it is. It's what are you thinking about? Yeah. What are you doing? What are you focused on? I would say 100%. Like that it is something that takes up a lot of my time and thought. So yeah, if someone said you're worshiping it, I wouldn't disagree with them. I would just be like, okay, yeah. In an age of no religion and because I mean, especially our generation, millennials, the religion attendance rates are dropping. We're not a religious generation. We're kind of the religion that killed the churches. I wonder, man. I wonder about that sometimes. I wonder because I grew up in a super religious like household. There are some things from religion that like I think are super important. There's absolutely like the idea of community, like that. This
this not being so focused on just self and having this realization of like, okay, what I do, what my individual self does affects a bunch of other people.
Right.
Like that's something. Now, granted, you can get that from outside of church. You don't need that. You don't need religion to do that. Like,
right. You don't need religion, but
I
you
think,
can't go without it.
Right. I think there are some social things that are lost by religion being so minimalized.
So it's a good place for young men, talk about pickup artists, to find a wife. It's
True.
literally church.
Yeah. And a lot of dudes do that. Like,
It's not that bad.
Yeah.
It's not a bad way. I didn't find mine that way. But
yeah. Oh, you seem like you were trying to like use. No,
I mean, it's I would recommend if you're not opposed to it, if you're a single guy out there, go to church or something. I don't know.
this is your stamp of approval.
Well, I mean, maybe not church, but like, CrossFit, or find something that you find interesting that is about it gets you out socializing. You're not there for the primary purpose of hooking up. Like, people think, oh, just go to a bar and meet someone. It's like, yeah,
I
that's
feel like that age is kind of gone.
I don't think that's where the single women hang out. I mean, that's not where
I'm sure
millennials.
there are some, but like I think things have really.
Bless you.
Thank you. I think things have really just kind of, people have kind of found their smaller niches. Like that's a very like antiquated way of, I think, thinking at this point. Kind of. I guess maybe I'm being a little bit too harsh on it, because now that I think about it, what's the difference between a bar and like somebody that picks up girls at a gym?
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
The only difference is you're going there to get drunk. You're going to the gym to get in shape.
Sure.
Hopefully.
Yeah.
That should be why you're there. So I don't know. Maybe it isn't as antiquated as I think it is, but it ain't for me. So
yeah. All right, let's talk more about religion. Right. You want to keep going on that?
Sure.
You want
yeah.
like I do think about that too. Like, what are the downsides of our generation? That, I mean, first of all, do you think it's just because I've been thinking about this? Everyone talks about getting red pilled on everything. That's why there's so many conspiratorial thinking, because we're in the age of like the Epstein, the veil is kind of being lifted. Oh, that's another thing why I got interested in all the YouTube applied magic, occult, because I want to know the mysteries of ancient religions in the universe, and I want to see what the mysteries are. So like conspiracy theories, that's why they're fun, because it's hidden secret knowledge that the government's doing. The government's super powerful. What are they doing that's hidden, that's secret? All right, well, I want to know about it. And so that's where all the Epstein stuff has been super interesting. Lab leak hypothesis for COVID. It's like, why are they covering it up? And it's gone obviously super negative, because there's QAnon, there's people that storm the Capitol that, literally going to the Washington, DC to storm a Capitol because they think that it's a bunch of evil people.
Every time I hear about or that comes up, I'm just like, I have to be. This is the part where I have to think very carefully about what I'm going to say, because I would not do that. You would never find me climbing up some fence. There's some great memes that came from that. I'll give them that. Like, I'm not going to do that. But I'm also not going to be like super harsh on someone who did, because I 100% understand how somebody could get to that.
Okay.
I get it. Like I can like if a whole bunch of people are if the entire like media, like social media, like news, like if there's so many people who seem to be lying to you, and then you think that the system that you had that was supposed to work has been compromised, and then the dude who you have as a leader is not like is kind of stoking things that way, dude, I don't blame those people. I genuinely do not blame any of them.
It's rational. It makes sense.
It's a very rational thing to do. Like, and what really frustrates me, this is a little
people discount them.
Yeah,
right off the bat.
Damn, like, because okay, so we're gonna get a little political here, but whenever I hear someone just like flat out blank, just like, those people are idiots, they're so stupid, like they're trash human beings. I'm glad some of them got hurt and died or whatever. I'm like, okay, you're so on the other side of the fence that you've completely dehumanize this person.
Yeah. Basket of deplorables meme.
Yeah, I hate that. I
Yeah.
hate that so much because that
was
doesn't
2015 or something. I mean, that was like
it's to me in my head. I'm like, okay, so what's your goal? You just want to trash all these people? Is that the goal? Or is your goal that you want them to move closer to your way of thinking? If it's the latter, then what you're doing is the worst possible way to do that. It's so stupid. Like if your goal is to be
right.
I want people to think more like me because I think I know right, like I think I know the truth. Then if someone says something other than what you know, if every time they say that you immediately say, "Oh, you're a dumb piece of shit," like you're dumb, like like, that's not gonna help. Like that's literally like
what you do is you turn people into there's no other option but to get my guns and fight.
I'm just like, damn, like you don't want that, do you?
Yeah.
It's just like, okay, well, maybe we change our strategy a little bit. Like, I don't know.
It's the over talked topic of cancel culture. If you silence people, they just come back with violence.
Yeah.
And it's like but I really like the whole interesting case of the Alex Jones where you try to shut that guy up and now he's the most popular. But that dude's a magician. If you talk about like he gets people's attention like crazy.
He does. He's such a very
I like him. I
think he's a very funny dude to watch. I think he's very entertaining.
Sure.
I think if you go into like listening to stuff, it's like this shit's about to be.
Oh, I've never watched his actual show.
Oh,
no, I mean I've seen it a few
clips,
times, but I don't watch it.
I actually don't know where it is. To be
honest. That's the point.
I was like, I know it exists, and I see clips of it, but I have no idea where I would go to watch it.
Right.
And I'm sure he plugs it all the time, but like that's
Yeah.
just the nature of things, which is a whole nother topic on its own. But
yeah,
I don't know. I do the thing I would say that there's a social thing that's attached to religion that hasn't quite been replaced by anything else.
Our generation, people in their 30s, late 20s, 30s, they just think like, oh, I grew up religious, or maybe I didn't, and then I just stopped going to church because it's an annoying thing to do. I want my Saturday. In my case, it was Saturday. I want my Sunday back. I don't want to go, and it's just a bunch of old boomers talking about, like I get it, like, but what have we lost instead? And I don't know. I mean, that's a huge question. And
I know.
Well, okay. Talk to me.
So so for me, I think it's like this huge social thing.
Yeah.
That's just so you can say that like it's not
like-minded people, because now we're all disparate people on the internet sitting in our rooms in a dark blue light, thinking that we're talking to other people like us when they're
they could be. It's not, man. There's something about being with another person physically that is not the same as like doing stuff online. Like it's not the same. And I know some people hate that. I've done like online dating and stuff like that. Like it's not bad. I probably will do it in the future again. Maybe, I don't know.
How's she gonna
maybe. I mean, it just depends. Like I think that those things are supposed to supplement the actual thing, not replace it. And so, unfortunately, it seems like a lot of stuff has been replaced. Now, I use dating as an example because I can think of that being a very real thing as like a teenage kid growing up in a church.
Oh, dude, the Zoomers.
Like that's the thing. Like they don't have that.
Yeah. Well, to them, like for us, reality is this thin illusion that's sort of an old thing that we're sort of like, I guess it's still there, but like Zoomers, dude, online's reality. Reality is not real. Like online is real. The internet's more real. Like than talking with each other, especially during pandemic.
Yeah.
Holy shit.
The thing is, I don't hate that idea.
I'm for it, dude. Let's dive 20 times deeper.
Like
yeah.
I don't hate that idea. There's something I think, for lack of better terms, beautiful about the physical world.
Absolutely.
And like how unperfect it is. There's a lot of shit that sucks. And yes, you can make it all rainbows and sunshine in like a digital sense, but you lose something by doing that. And I don't think that that's worth it.
Yeah.
Like I'll take all the like unfortunate things that come with like being in the real world if that means that the really good things are sweeter, they taste better. So
There's a book that people should Google if they're interested in these types of topics, like The Matrix and stuff like that. Like,
I just watched that. Have you
okay,
watched
I
that?
didn't watch it,
Okay,
and I heard it was bad, but
it's-
I'm gonna watch it.
All right.
All right, Simulacrum and Simulation. It was a book written by, I think his first name's John, but just someone else, just Google it. And it was written in 1986, and he talks about sort of the precursor to postmodern thinking.
Okay.
And he talks about how the world that you and I think we live in is everything we see around us is a symbol, a simulation or a simulacrum of what an actual object is. We've lost. So what he means by that, I'm going to go into detail.
Yeah.
Is we value things based on dollars. Okay, that's a proxy for that represents the concept of value. So if I give you something $20, you think that's valuable. Oh, Michael gave me $20. But that doesn't mean anything. You're going to exchange that for goods. What does $20 mean?
20 it's like $20 is just the value of the paper.
Yeah.
Like it's like not even the paper. Like it's like $20 is just like an ambiguous kind of like
it doesn't
value.
actually mean
Yeah, I see what
anything.
you're saying.
Yeah, like especially with everything's like, I mean, the amount of money that I get from my paycheck goes magically into my bank account. It's just a number. It's a
just
digital.
Yeah.
And let alone Bitcoin, it's now posted on the ledger. You know, that's a whole another level removed. I'm talking about just fiat currency, like, because in 1972 they decoupled the value of the dollar. The U.S. government decoupled during the Nixon administration, decoupled it from the gold standard. So it used to be you could trade in your dollars to the U.S. government and get gold.
Right.
Now, nothing.
No.
So that means the U.S. government, which is a concept in and of itself, it's not reality. It's a simulation of, it represents all the collective people that you and I are never going to meet the majority of our fellow countrymen, but yet we all believe in this government that runs in Washington, D.C., that of people that are elected democratically, but, how much of our time and effort and energy is spent, maybe once every 4 years, the majority of us maybe go to the voting booth and click a button, and then we just watch the news, and we just
cool.
And I'm not doubting it, saying that's not real. Of course it's real. We have, institutions that generally work, and when they get tested, they stand strong. I don't think we're as doom and gloom as some people say. But anyway, you have this whole, like, we all, like I said, $20. What is $20 really? Like, it's not tied to anything tangible. It's tied to our ideas of things. And then he gets in the concept of a fork. What is an actual fork? Because there is no original fork. It's like, in China they make plastic forks, and you can't go back. It goes back to Plato and Socrates and the idea of the ideal form of things. Like, if you imagine the perfect table in a dream, when you're thinking about something, you think about a table or, an object of beauty. What is that actual thing? Well, in your mind, it's way different than, a sculptor who tries to make the perfect person, like Leonardo da Vinci. And it's just like, well, he's trying to represent something beautiful, but it's just a simulation of that thing. And if you look throughout everything we see in society, these cups are designed. This isn't the original cup. This isn't the original glass. This equipment is made of plastic. It's not the actual, like, essence of the thing. So you have that, what's it called? The Ship of Theseus, where have you heard this thing where it's the paradox?
It sounds familiar,
is it Theseus? It might be something different. But it's like, if you have a ship and you replace one part of the ship, and then you keep going. I mean, all of us are.
At what point is it the same ship? Is it a new ship? Like, yeah.
And so in this book, he just talks about the 5 levels of, we are marketing companies, and with the digital age, we have gone way far from. We don't truly know what a cherry tastes like. You just get like, you have a Monsanto, which is like a corporation that creates all the tomatoes, onion, like everything that you buy in the store is from this one corporation. It's a big conglomerate, and they even design their tomatoes to not have seeds so that you can't take the seeds from it and grow your own tomatoes. They have seeds in them, but if you try to grow anything, it doesn't work. So it's like, I mean, that was written in 1986. It's like, what have we done since? And these are just, I don't know, day to day, I go to work, I clock in. I'm not.
I would say neither one of us are like that untethered from like what normal, I guess, life is. But to me,
well, maybe I am at this point. I don't know.
To me, it's very interesting to think and talk about these kind of things because, like, I don't know, they're like cool thought experiments essentially. But I guess that idea though, I remember. I remember it was basically that Ship of Theseus thing, but it was talked about in terms of like cloning.
Sure. Yeah. That's a whole thing.
Yeah, I think that's a very interesting thought experiment.
What if you could clone yourself? Right. Are you you?
Are you you? Or like if you were to pause it or stop it at one point in the process, at what point who's the real you? Like it's very interesting.
Well, I mean, I've watched videos of us talking from a year ago or whatever, and I was like, I don't even remember what I was thinking in that moment. I know it's me, but like I don't even recognize that guy. It's like, but yet other people are gonna watch this and be like, it's just if you think about it too long, you will loop into infinity.
Yeah.
So that like gets into I got heavy into reading about like I read the Bhagavad Gita.
What's that sound so familiar?
It's Hindu. It's either a Vedantic text from the ancient Hindus.
Okay.
So Hinduism, talking about a culture that they don't believe that this life that you live from birth to death is like, that's it. Nope.
Right.
They think
there's a continuation.
If you are living in India, the reason the caste system, if you're born in poverty or if you're born as a Brahmin, as a religious figure and treated very highly, it's because of whatever you did in the previous life. So they're cool with it. And if you want to check out of society and become a monk and sit down and meditate, they'll come by and give you some food and some money because, hey, that person has felt that this is their life. Whereas here, we don't take care of our homeless,
Yeah.
And we think it's your life, you screwed it up, you're dead. Whereas they think, well, we'll see you in the next go around. Right. And it's a whole thing. So if you go deep into the Bhagavad Gita, there's talk about worship and religion. They set up little statues that represent the gods, and they hold ceremonies where they put like spicy food on top of the gods. Why? Because it's a form of let me just show honor and respect to you who represents either your ancestors or the idea of something. And when you meditate, they think that you are God creating the world itself. So, because reality is we're all the same thing here. Right. You're not different from reality. Like when you're sitting in the meditation, the lotus position, it's supposed to be so that you can wrap your legs together because you're one being. You bring energy from the earth, from the ground, and go up your spine, and then you breathe in and out. And yoga is all about this. You breathe in and out because your voice, your mouth is a door, Om, and it's a door to the outside reality, bringing in the energy, and then you breathe it back out, and that's a big part of it. So, sitting and meditating is like a psychedelic experience in the Hindu tradition.
I feel like it's not even just Hindu. Like that's
well, it's grown into Western culture now.
Like it's definitely a part of this. Like the image that I have. Oh, this is kind of cringe, but the image that I have when I'm meditating, about something or just in general, whether I'm trying to clear my mind, that idea of inhaling and exhaling. This is so stupid, but I have this I don't think of it as okay. All right, well, I'm gonna put it out there. Have you seen Avatar: The Last Airbender?
Not only like first couple episodes.
Okay.
Yeah.
There's a scene. I think it's. Do you know who Iroh is, like Uncle Iroh.
Which one? The uncle of was he the Earth
Zuko? Firebenders.
Firebender?
So
Okay.
Zuko's the bad dude with like the scar on his eye, and then the older guy that's always with him.
Yeah.
That's Iroh. So he one of the best written characters in fiction, period, hands down. He's at easily in the top 5.
Yeah.
The way, like, his whole story arc is really cool. But there's a scene in there because they talk about firebending and how it's
by the way, in the applied magic, that's black magic using fire.
Yeah.
By the way.
Okay.
So
right, black magic,
like necromancy, black magic, hurting others is all the stuff of, like, you don't want to do that stuff.
It's interesting because I see fire as like a good thing. I don't see it as like a negative thing.
But yeah, it's the archetype of.
But anyway,
Yeah,
basically, there's a scene because they talk about how firebending comes from the breath,
right?
And he's like this crazy, like, powerful firebender, and there's a moment where he's standing on this rock,
yeah,
and he's generating a lot. He's trying to generate like something to like siege a city, essentially. So he's doing this like very deep inhale and then exhale, and a very deep inhale, and then the camera's kind of panning out, but underneath him is flames. That when he inhales, it pulls towards him, but the flames get bigger, and as he exhales, it kind of goes down. But it's constantly getting higher and higher. So that's the image that I have when I'm meditating. But it's not necessarily fire. It's just general
like energy. Yeah,
like it's just generally like I'm bringing something in.
Yeah,
and then I'm choosing how I want to focus that energy.
So the thing is that real? Because you're thinking it, you're feeling it, I'm not making the case that, it is, you can scientifically prove it, but when you hear Buddhist monks speak, and he goes, like, there's this one guy, Thich Nhat Hanh, Thic, Thich Nhat Hanh, who's like this 90-year-old Buddhist monk, lives in France, and he has this, they have the description of the Sangha, which is the group thinking. So if you have a person who's on drugs, or like just their life is all screwed up and they're lost, and so they come to my community. We're going to take care of you. Join the Sangha, meditate, sit down. We're all going to breathe together. And with the spirit of healing, I want you to join us. Even if you can't, contribute to it, just take our energy. And he's like, it's a real thing. Is it made up? All you're doing is sitting and breathing and maybe chanting with the group. But if you're hurting, and I think a lot of like Americans, millennials are, depressed, anxious, hurting. If you're part of a group that's thinking a positive thought, just
it has no choice but to bleed into you at some point.
What is that?
Yeah.
What the hell is that, Joe? I mean, what's happening?
So when you ask if that's real, the immediate answer in my head was, it's real enough.
That's magic. That's the Eastern.
If sure, there's some stuff about it that you're like, hey, you can't prove that. Like, well, I don't care.
Right.
I don't need, and it's granted. I say that not as like dismissive. It's more of like, what purpose do I get from answering that question? I don't get anything from figuring it. Like, what I do get is that it does help me.
Right.
There is something is happening.
Right.
And that's all I care about.
Is it your thoughts, or is it other thoughts influencing you? Because we all know other people influence the way we think.
I think it's a combination of both. I think that's
what's going on.
That's the magic, I guess you could say.
That's like the magic. Yeah. That's it's watching a movie and going, when you you can't know it in the moment, but when you're so locked into the story that you forget who you are.
Dude,
that's
okay. I apologize in advance if this takes us on a different tangent.
Let's go.
I don't want to say that I'm not going to make the video because I'm doing this, but I have watched,
maybe this is the video.
Maybe this is the video. Maybe I can clip it and throw it up.
Yeah.
I've watched these 2 Amazon original shows in the past couple of weeks, maybe 3 weeks. The first one was Wheel of Time, which is
I watched
popular.
it all.
So good. So, it's a popular book, and I don't know if I want to read the book now after I've seen the first season. Maybe I will. I have a lot of people that are like, read the book. Like, maybe. So I watched that one, and then recently I watched Carnival Row. Also on Amazon. Both of them. there is something about a good, like a well-written story. I don't. We can put it in the same category as we're talking about with meditation or whatever, but there's something about when a story's written really well. It doesn't necessarily have to be like a show or a movie or something. It could just be a book. Uh, that just it's weird. It's like you know you're not there. Like you know you're sitting in your bed or you're sitting on your couch watching this thing, but there's something about it that just sticks with you. And I don't these shows are not like like if you look them up on like Rotten Tomatoes, they got like 60-70% or something like that. I think one of them actually was like not reviewed that well. Apparently, I don't remember which one it was. I think it might have been Carnival Row, but and I get why, but after watching those shows, man, there are some things about that general story that there's little beats of all the little subplots and stuff that now are just stuck with me. That like, and it feels weird because I've had this from all kind of different things, from like things as silly as cartoons, anime, like books I've read, like movies, like it's I don't know what you call it. You can categorize it as magic or whatever, but like there's something about a story that hits, I guess, that strikes a nerve that's memorable with you, that you just kind of pick it up and you like, I don't know whether I got a lesson or I realize something about myself or realize something that I value that I couldn't quite put into words, but this show somehow like did that for me. I'm like, oh, okay, cool. I think there's something magical about it. I don't know. Like that's another one of those things.
That's
like,
the
what
thing.
the fuck is that? Like, what is like?
That's what I'm getting. That's the whole point of what I'm trying to get at is like, what's the limits of science? Because that's a real phenomenon. Yet you can't explain that, and you can't categorize that. You can't, which of your five senses is that?
Yeah, exactly.
It's
I don't know.
Yeah, and I know exactly what you mean. And you could magic is a bad term because magic isn't like real. It as if it like goes against reality, or it's just something that it's in your mind that either speaks to you. I call it interest. It's what you're interested in. It's because I've learned in life that for me, in order to get through work or like boring stuff I don't want to do, or a tough.
What's your secret, Mike?
Yeah, my secret is I got to be interested in it.
Yeah.
I got to like what I'm doing. If I don't like what I'm doing, I get upset. I get bored. Well, I get bored first, and then I get upset, and then I feel like I'm wasting my time, and then I get frustrated because it's like, what am I doing this difficult thing for? Like that changed my mind into like working out. Like, oh, is it something I'm dreading? Like I have to go to the gym versus I get to like just experience it and it just feels good, and then you appreciate it. So that's how I get through.
I'm the same way.
Yeah.
I there's some stuff, like, to be frank and to be very reductive and summarize it,
right?
I think that's the long and short of why I stopped I stopped streaming. I
stopped
doing podcasts. I hit a point where it was no longer fun. It wasn't like it was something I was like, oh shit, I gotta schedule someone, hopefully they get out here, and then like you have somebody that's like, oh shit, that person just canceled on me, so now what do I do? Now I'm panicking. I gotta make something like happen. I have to do something. Like it when it becomes something you have to do, that for me generally, that's where things kind of start falling off. But it falls off very quick for me. Like I remember when I played golf in high school, I was team captain for like 3 years, and then at my senior year, there's something about it. I don't know exactly when that shift happened or what it was that caused it, but there's something about it that was like, this is not. I hate this. This is not fun.
Right.
I have to. I don't want to have to go and play this game.
Yeah.
It's 9 holes. I don't have to walk up. This sucks. And so I lost interest and I stopped playing. I mean, I've even had that with fighting, honestly. Like I've had like very short moments
where you got to push through even if you don't want to.
Yeah. But it's a little bit different. It's more of like I'll wake up in the morning and I'll kind of go, okay. So normally we go to the gym. It's 10 o'clock, or you go there at 10 o'clock. It's 7 o'clock now. You're still in bed. Do you really want to go? Because it's gonna suck. You gotta go to work afterwards, and you're gonna be tired. You're gonna be sweaty. You gotta rush to work. You might hurt something because you remember your eye got messed up, your foot got messed up. Like, do you want to go through that? And you kind of have this thing that plays you, but it all starts from a place where maybe I didn't have as great of a time I did last time, or something like that.
Sure. Yeah. Well, motivation. It's like the whole science behind motivation.
I think
is it waning? Is it,
It's definitely not. It waned for a second for me. What changed was the way that I looked at it, because there was a point where I think I was looking at it like a practitioner and not as a student.
Okay.
And I think once I had that shift, that I needed that. I don't know why. I guess because I'm very hard on myself. I'm very critical of myself. So like if I mess up,
we've talked about this before.
Yeah,
you are your worst. I am your own worst.
People like. I kind of feel bad for a lot of my like instructors growing up, and like teachers and like tutors and all that stuff, because like they tried to be hard on me about like being and doing my best. I'm like, stop! I got that.
Yeah.
You trust me. Like I got that part handled. Like,
you need to tell it to the next guy, not me.
You do. I will be extremely brutal on myself. And
right.
The idea of being a student changed that perspective for me, because I was like, oh, wait a minute. Okay, students mess up. That's a part of it. Like students fail. That you kind of are supposed to. If things aren't challenging enough for you to fail, you probably shouldn't be doing that thing.
Sure.
Like, so once I kind of had that idea, like that thought process kind of, I was like, oh, okay. So this dude just swept me like in sparring. Okay, cool. We learned something there.
Right.
Like that's fine. Like that's not like that whole shift happened not that long ago. So like that's something I wanted to make a video on too.
Yeah.
Just like that shift of mentality. I don't know how we ended up on it, but we went there. So I took it there, I guess.
Yeah, I mean there's tons of places to go with that. At some point, let's see. We want to talk about let's see, limits of science. I've mentioned that. Psychedelics, religion, sex. How this all it goes with sex is a lot of fun.
Okay.
I won't get personal. Let's make this a depersonal conversation about sex, because it's not fair to my wife and me. It's just I'll talk about whatever.
But when you start involving other people, then
you're
not here, like that's fair.
Yeah, and I probably, if she was next to me, I'd be like, hey, can I, I don't care.
Yeah.
But let's just talk about with all this. So there's the Matrix, right? The Matrix is the allegory of the cave retold. Okay. Yep. The allegory of the cave is Plato, I believe, wrote. If you go into a cave and you light a fire and you fall asleep, and just before you fall asleep, you get to a hypnagogic state. Hypnagogic state is like, it's almost like that lucid dreaming. It's like when someone puts you under hypnosis. Yeah. That's what they're trying to do. And you look up at the flames and you just see like the flames are behind you and you see images, and it's like a movies before movies. It's a projector. Yeah, and you draw meaning from those shadows. So if you look at that and whatever that's where they thought the gods came from. Okay. The god of anger, the god of, they were telling stories on there. That's what spirits are.
Okay.
Right? So that's ancient Greece, and the modern day version of that is the Matrix. It's like when you wake up for real, you're going to see the real world versus the illusion that you're seeing in front of you. Right?
Okay.
So how that ties into sex is kind of like there's the illusion, because sex is always, it's a biological function. I mean, you're just trying to accomplish one. If you're a guy, you're trying to accomplish one task, and if you're a woman, it's usually procreation and things like that's the functional part of it. But of course, as beings that we have in modern day society, we've learned to biohack. Sometimes it's like
sounds like the name of a video game.
Well, it's like BioShock, but it is like, isn't a lot of life hacking our biology? Like it's not normal that we live inside, have air conditioning to keep our bodies. We wear fashion like clothes that serve no functional purpose, but they're meant to be stylish, comfortable, elicit a response from other people. I mean, that's what fashion is. It's like, especially for women, it's like, you know, makeup. It's meant to make you look a certain way to be attractive to uh, men, or maybe they just like it. Maybe they just make like a lot of women. This is what I really appreciate about women is that they just beauty for beauty's sake. It's just, you know, wearing jewelry or wearing nice clothes or wearing, you know, perfume, smelling nice. Like guys kind of don't generally in when you're talking about men, I mean, I'm this way. You don't think about your appearance or your the way you're coming across as much as maybe women do. You know, do you sort of see what I mean there?
I see what you mean. The only reason, like, I'm making this weird face over here,
yeah.
like, I get this is not something I'm super tied to. It's just something I've thought about. Whenever I hear someone say "beauty for beauty's sake," I'm like, is that true? Because like
we talk to women, I think it's a lot of women would say, well, like, why do you wear makeup? Well, I don't wear it just for men's attention. I wear it for me.
Okay. What does okay? I'm gonna go through this thing. I'm gonna do it somewhat quickly. Whenever I hear someone say that, like, "Oh, I do it for me," I'm like, okay, what does that mean? Well, I do it because I feel good when I do it. I'm like, okay, what about it makes you feel good? Oh, well, I look at myself and I look sexy, or I look good, or I look whatever. I'm like, okay, well, where did you get that idea or definition of terms of like sexy or good from? Well, it was probably from your surroundings, which were probably coming from other women or men.
Sure.
So like when I hear that, I go, there's a loop here that loops back to.
It's not that they're lying, but that you're missing.
I get it. Yeah. Like, yeah, they're not lying.
They're not lying.
Like, I would never say that they're lying. It's just whenever I hear someone say it, I'm like, I believe what you're saying is true. I understand. Like, and I understand what you're saying is how you feel, but in my brain, I go, at the end of this thought train, it's from or for attraction.
Sure.
So like,
what's attraction?
I guess something's pull towards something else. Like you want that feeling. It's like you want that feeling either from someone else or for yourself, from yourself.
I think if women are being really honest, and they probably don't tend to do this in media or on social media or on television or on movies, but if you just get a woman to sort of just honestly, it's like attention feels good. Like
that's anyone. That's nothing to.
But I think for men they do it differently.
What do you mean? Because I feel like that's very similar.
Men get attention in different ways through status, through making, you know, having a job, making money.
True.
Some guys like buying cars and you know going out. And
the methods are different, but I think that everyone wants attention.
But I think that's what you're saying is that when people deny it, it's, you know, there's multiple levels of conversation happening. There's the surface level where no, I don't do it for attention. Right. Well, you do. Well, and then there's get deeper down into it. And I think sex and sexual attraction is somewhere on this the not spoken about part in for normal people. Okay. And that's what I like to explore, sort of talk about or think about, or you know, because it's very subtle and it's very.
Are we okay? So let me ask: Are we talking about like the specifics of like makeup, or are we talking about just like the idea of like wanting attraction or wanting to pull attraction?
Aren't they tied together?
Yeah, to a certain extent, they are. Yeah, I guess I'm trying to figure out which one you were focusing on, or is it both? Is it all encompassing?
I think I'm talking about the connection between the two.
Okay. Okay. Cool.
Yeah. Because, it's all tied together. Like these are all things. These are the topics I'm interested in.
I'll also say like when we're using makeup as an example or as a thing, that can be attached to a crazy amount of things.
Sure.
Like I could attach it to the reason why I work out.
Yeah, exactly.
It's like
Yep.
I want to look good.
That's dudes' forms of makeup.
It's the same thing. Yeah, it's the same.
Like,
It's like there's a different degree of work that's attached to it, but like it's the same. Like it can be the same thing. The
Yeah.
reasoning can be the same.
And I guess where I'm going with starting with the allegory of the cave into the Matrix into what's reality versus what's the illusion that you're giving off. I'm not saying that makeup. Okay, I'll tie it together right now.
Okay.
So makeup on girls is not makeup. It's not made to make you think that they look different than they actually are. It's just meant to kind of enhance for a beauty. And women will say, "Oh, I do it for myself," but you're also doing it for others, just by the nature of you wouldn't put things on your face to walk out.
Yeah.
And so, and I'm not saying it's a negative thing. I think in today's culture, even what I'm saying, I'm trying to anticipate how this is going to be heard by others.
Right.
And other people will say something along the lines of, well, that's the male gaze, and that's not, women with in 2022 now. That's not what it's about.
Forget that stuff.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. And I'm trying to anticipate, jump ahead of that conversation, and be like, yeah, I know all that. I know all that. I'm not, I'm good. I got that.
Yeah.
It's about what makes us humans to begin with. It's about the base levels of, why are people friends with each other? Why are people attracted to each other? Why does, and I think sex is a part of that.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of it is there's what you present, what you give off, and then there's the subtle layers underneath. Like people find Pete Davidson attractive. Dude, like
I always forget about every time that pops up like on my Instagram. I was like, oh yeah, okay.
Like there's some memes with he's holding hands with Kim Kardashian.
Yeah.
It's like, other guys think they could bench 400 pounds, but she just thinks I'm goofy. Like, like what's going on there? Like, yet he's, got something attractive about him. He's got some sort of sex appeal. Like,
yeah, I mean,
what's going on? What's going on there?
I don't think. First of all, what's up, Steven? How are you? I see you in there.
What the heck is going on here, dude?
Yeah.
For context, I worked. This is day 8 in a row of I've had 8 to 10 hour days of a crazy job. I'm 3 White Claws in. We're on a podcast.
Are
It's
you off tomorrow?
No, I'm still working.
Jesus.
I know it. I'm just at the point where it's like, however many, if I get 4 hours of sleep and show up, I'm getting 4 hours of sleep. It's crazy right now.
I can imagine.
Omicron.
Oh my god.
Taking the White Claws out. I couldn't even find any.
God.
Yeah, but anyway.
I always think of the Kobe thing. It was like Kobe. Yeah,
Kobe.
Like,
Kobe.
Yeah. But
yeah.
We were talking about attraction and I guess sex.
I love thinking about it. I just love thinking, nice meme. I love thinking about sex, but I do like, I do like I like everything about it. I like the subtleties of it. I mean, you made the point before the podcast when I said I might, bring up all this stuff. It's a part of like movies, social media, the way they sell things to people. It's a lot of it's, you want attractive people. You want, you could view it in a negative lens, but it's also the part of each one of as humans, each one of our experiences.
I don't necessarily, especially when it comes to like advertisements or stuff like that, I don't necessarily view it in a negative lens. It's more of like, it kind of worries me when it seems as though everyone's just saying, thumbs up, yep, cool, this is good, do it, yay, awesome. And I'm like, so we're gonna act like there's no negative repercussion to this whatsoever. There's nothing bad will come of this. Is that the way that we're gonna interact with this? Because I can think of a lot of ways this could be really bad.
Do you think that's because of your upbringing?
No. So not necessarily. So it's not like bad in the sense of like.
Because I've had to unthink negative things about sex, like guilt and so for myself.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's what you're talking about.
That is not what I'm talking about.
What are you talking about?
So what I mean is, okay. So I hope that's not the message I'm putting across here. Sex is great. Don't get me wrong. I love it. Like I use it for whatever like means, whether it's like a validation thing.
You would recommend it?
I would recommend it. 100. You get my stamp of approval. It's awesome. What I mean is more of like, I'm going to use a specific example because I think that's the best way I can kind of get my point across. So Twitch has gone through like a weird up and down thing when it comes to whether or not they want to be okay with using sex to sell. And what I mean by that is like, if you're an avid Twitch watcher, you know exactly what I'm talking about. Like where the that hot tub meta, like you had the ASMR thing, which shouldn't have ended up being that way, but it did end up being that way. Like even still now, like the just chatting section is, I wouldn't call it a mess. It's a lot better than it was before, but it's still there. Like that is something that people can do. And I guess I'll be a little bit more like specific because this is something that applies to both men and women. But for this example, I'm going to use women. There was I actually got into
Squad W.
Squad W was training. I got into this whole Twitter thing with somebody, which I never do. I don't know why I started picking this up.
Is this fun?
It's fun, I guess, but like, God, I don't know what came over me, but like, I never argue with people on Twitter, and now all of a sudden, I do this shit all the time now. Like, where like I see somebody post, I'm like, all right, well, you're a dumb motherfucker. Like, here we go. But like, somebody was talking about, I'm trying. It had something to do with Amaranth, and
the OG.
Yeah, the OG.
She figured it out. I have mad respect for Amaranth.
Yeah, like there's on one level I have a lot of respect for her. I'm like, that's some solid business moves. You do it. Make your money. Like do your thing. But on the other hand, I see the type of people who end up on that healthy
gamer GG or something.
Dr. K
Dr. K.
And I'm just like, okay, yeah, cool, yeah, get your money, but you are
right at what cost?
Yeah, like it doesn't cost you. You're not the one that's gonna feel the cost of that. It's gonna be this dude who, sure, yeah, like there are resources out there for him to be like, oh, well, my engagement with this is probably not healthy, and that's not your responsibility, but you sure are making it really easy for that guy to like fall into that pit. I'm just like, I guess it ends up being
I get what you're saying, but
it's like it's not anyone's responsibility other than himself to do that.
Right.
But it seems really shitty to make it really it's like a casino. Like it's a casino, like if it's a casino for kids.
Right.
It's
okay,
like, it's
I get
not,
that.
Or like for teenagers.
Right.
Like yeah, sure, they're not stupid. They have
they have autonomy.
They have autonomy, but like, man, you
can't make it you can't make it hard so easy on them.
Like,
yeah.
You don't know what type of
make
life
them hard. Sorry.
Yeah.
I gotta go. Yeah,
you don't know what type of life they have lived.
Right.
That they're super susceptible to this thing. So like when I see people take advantage of that, I'm just like, man.
I would have been out there simping at 16 watching Twitch streams. I would have been like simping for these bitches. Like I would have. I don't know. Maybe I would.
I don't think I would have. But
yeah.
I think every time I see it happen, I feel so bad for that person. And
why do you feel bad? Why do you? Because isn't it? Why do you think you care about that?
I think it's because it's like
I do. I care about it insofar that I have empathy for them a little bit. But because I'm like, I could almost see myself doing that. Where
I think that's why. And I'm literally stepping in every fucking like social media like puddle. But like I used to watch a lot of stuff from Jordan Peterson.
Yeah, absolutely.
I used to listen to
I love that guy.
He's a great,
I'm gonna just say that. I love that guy.
I think like
why do people hate him? That's the whole
thing. So like I get why people hate him.
We don't have to go on that tangent.
We don't, yeah. But so there was a thing that he brought up about Nazis. And it was the fact that like people were like, oh, Nazis are bad, they're trash. And then they would go further to the thing like, I would never be a Nazi. I'm like,
that
don't know. Like
right.
Like
I know exactly what you mean.
The fact that you would say that is crazy to me. Because
what if you grew up in Germany?
You have no idea.
People don't realize, just to set the stage, in Germany in 1928 or 1932, or more like 32, you had a dog shit economy.
It was,
and when some dude, this guy says, I'm going to be a leader, I'm going to take us democratically elected. Okay, we don't have to say his name. Just you have someone who was democratically elected. Voldemort. Yeah, exactly. It's just because everyone's going to meme on it, but it's like you have this guy who says, I'm going to lead the country into being, So I went to Switzerland for my honeymoon.
Gotcha.
And the Swiss Germans. I went. It was an amazing country, by the way. Nice. Love Switzerland. Swiss people are astounding, polite, nice. So what I was going to say is that the Swiss Germans, the trains run on time. Everything's clean. 4 languages, 5 languages. They'll talk to you in English.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter. Everything works. There's outlets in the train. So like you need to charge your phone right there. Boom, works. You need to go to the bathroom on a plane or on a train.
Yeah.
No problem. Okay. Germans are good about doing all that stuff. When you have a really bad country and then you have a leader that brings you out of that, you would have been a Nazi, dude. Yeah, you would have been if you were 19 and right. I mean, let's be real.
The whole reason I bring that up is because that thought experiment of like, wait a minute, if I was in Germany at this point,
right?
What I like, I use that for everything. So when I see a dude that's like simping hard, blowing his paycheck, and I'm like, okay, I can see how someone could get there. Like I could put myself in that person's shoes, and then I have a lot of empathy for that person because I'm just like, damn it, like no one's gonna sit there and point. Like I got in that whole argument because like I was like, yeah, like someone was like, there's no harm being done. I was like, there kind of is. It's not really this person's fault, but there is harm being done here. Like this is not like all roses and butterflies and like this. There is some harm being done,
right?
Like maybe we can't blame a specific person. Maybe we can blame that person, but to sit here and act like this is perfectly fine and there's not going to be any negative consequences for this whatsoever is like, come on, give me a fucking break. Like we all know.
I think you're almost making the point. It's hard to quantify it. Like you can't quantify it.
Sure, yeah. It's not quantifiable, but like,
it's unmeasurable.
Any rational person who's looking at that situation, they realize like, okay, like this dude just donated $1,000.
Right. Yeah.
It's just like
off mommy's credit card. Yeah,
probably. Possibly. It's just like, I mean, you're gonna sit there and act like there's no harm being done here. Really? Like I'm like, damn. Like. This is kinda...
I sort of see what you're saying. I think you're just to make a quick comment on what I think about what you just said is that you're starting from the wrong spot in my opinion with respect because she's out there hustling.
Sure.
Okay.
Yeah, I have no problem with
the small scale operation that she's doing is she's trying to give a lap dance as short as possible for the most amount of money.
Yeah.
Okay, this is just scale that. This is, on the internet, okay?
Yeah.
She's trying to do a cam show on a legal platform with, not illegal, on a popular not
like one of the most popular streaming platforms.
And so she's playing within the rules to the point where she kind of knows the demographic, and so I think she's doing everything fine. Yeah, and I see your point that
I'm not saying she's doing anything wrong.
She's playing the game, dude. She's playing the rules.
She's playing the game and she's playing the rules. I just think it's almost like I don't want to say that I wouldn't want to change anything. I don't have a prescription for it because I don't think she's doing anything.
You're just making a commentary that
I'm just kind of
I get what you're saying.
Yeah, it just seems.
I get it. I get it.
Like, I can put myself in that dude's shoes, and that's a miserable existence. And like, it seems like no one cares about that guy, and I'm just like, why? Like, why is it that it's so okay for that guy? Like, no one gives a shit about that. It feels like.
Do you think it's wrong that take the exact same person, 20-year-old man, 20-year-old woman, if in society for whatever reason you tend to be a 20-year-old woman tends to be valued a little higher, whereas 20-year-old men, we'd send them to war, and they do bad labor. It's kind of like, it almost is like, but when you get the exact same scenario, a man in his 60s and a woman in her 60s, like, why is it that we value one over the other? I'm talking on a societal level, like Western culture right now in this moment. First of all, do you agree with that how I'm classifying that?
I think in that,
I'm not trying to say that's how I view it.
No, yeah.
But isn't that kind of how this world operates
Yeah.
a little bit?
Yeah, so I used to think a little weirdly about like draft and all that stuff, but like the way I look at it now is like I just kind of accept it as like that is how it is, and it is that way for a reason. Like
Broad strokes, what are the reasons? Because a man at 60 has accomplished things.
wait, okay, so I'm
What?
talking about the 20 and 20. What do you mean about this?
Okay, 20 and 20. Let's go to the 20 and 20. So why are those the reasons that they are?
So first of all, I wouldn't say that one is valued more than the other.
You don't think so?
No. Me personally, I don't think so. I think they're valued for different things. But to say that one of those things is more valuable than the other is kind of silly.
I don't think innately.
Yeah.
Innately, no.
I don't think at all.
No, I think
Like
by society standards, I do think we treat young men differently than we treat. When I was a 20-year-old man,
Mhm.
I like way more being a 29-year-old man. People tend to listen to me more. I have more experience. I have more just weird authority. Like I kind of just like tell someone to do something and they just tend to like do it.
Yeah,
Whereas
no,
when I
like-
was 20, no one fucking listened to a word I said. It was a hard
but no one
experience.
did that for 20-year-old women either. They don't like
but I think I think the experience that a 20-year-old female has, maybe I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm extrapolating here. I'm guessing. I think that they kind of go around. They go, if I need something, if I'm lost, I can kind of just ask, and men will just kind of appear. Okay, my wife, when she goes out,
Mhm.
okay, she tells me stories of, if I look lost, a man will just come out of nowhere and help me.
Yep.
Because she's not a 20-year-old. She's she's a younger, attractive female.
Right.
She's I don't mean to. I hate that I have to like dance around all these conversations. I just want to say it,
What do you
but
mean?
it's well, just because I'm concerned with how people are going to perceive what I'm saying. I'm not trying to say anything controversial. I'm trying
I
to
don't
say
think you've said anything
Okay,
controversial.
okay. I'm not saying it's innate that 20-year-old female, you're going to act differently than, and innately you're different than a 20-year-old male. But I'm saying culturally, societally, we treat them differently. My experience as a 20-year-old man is way different. Nobody listened to me. I felt very undervalued. I didn't feel like I had a direction. I felt very lost. Maybe that was just me, but I find that experience with many other men.
So I feel like,
And I don't think the women had the same experience. I think they experienced that in their 40s and 50s when they start to realize, oh, my use for society has been drained up. I'm getting treated a different way.
I think this is where I would say that I think that you're approaching is different, like, or from incorrectly.
I'm wrong.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because I would think that at 20 years old, there are so many. It's for a different reason, I guess. So like for a guy, it's you maybe don't feel valuable. No one listens to you. You're getting your license and they're telling you, hey man, you gotta sign up for this thing where you could have to go to war, and you're just like, well, shit, that kind of fucking sucks. Oh, and then you learn that like women don't have to do that, and you're like, what the fuck? But then, from the friends that I have that are women, like it is a different type of lost feeling. It's not necessarily a loss of like I don't feel valued. It's a loss of I have so many different things being thrown at me right now, and I have no idea which one of them is the correct thing for me. It's like you have some parts of society being like independent woman, you
Right.
go get your paper, do all this stuff, but then maybe you have a voice in the back of your head that's like, but I like these more domestic things. Like I do want to do these things.
Yeah.
Or maybe you can switch that, vice versa. Then you have like beauty standards and things of that nature. Like you're like, well, I like being a tomboy. I like just wearing comfortable stuff, but that doesn't seem to be rewarded, which that seems really fucked up. Like, so I wouldn't say that like, I wouldn't say that they don't have that same feeling. I think they have that same feeling, but it comes from a different source. Like a dude source is more of like a lack of direction. Well, I guess that's the in the Venn diagram, the thing that would be in the middle. Like,
I feel like women accidentally, like young women, they can almost do anything and accidentally stumble into a fortunate scenario. I don't mean to be.
I feel like there's a lot of pitfalls that they can end up in unfortunate scenarios.
Sure, but you kind of just like you'll be all right. Someone will watch out. Whereas, okay, maybe not.
The problem is like someone watching out for you could be someone that ends up taking advantage of you. That's the
absolutely.
Problem. That's why I think that confusion and like their confusion and frustration would come from, because you may feel like, oh, cool, people looking out for me. Dude 1 through 4 have been looking out for me. That's awesome. And then dude number 5, he's looking out for me. Awesome. Just like those passwords. Oh shit, this dude actually wants to try to like, I don't know, like human traffic me or some shit. Like
I get that.
It's like
they got different problems.
It's a different.
No, that's a fair point. That's a fair point.
The only, and I think the only reason I'm kind of tuning in is because I have a couple of female friends that I've heard stuff like that from, and
okay.
I go, okay, all right, that makes sense, because I definitely felt that way for a long time. Where I'm like, this is bullshit. Like, you can just, what do you mean you can get free drinks?
Yeah.
What do you mean I'm buying the, like, what, like, this is bullshit. But then I'm like, checks and balance, or not checks and balance, but like pluses and minuses, I guess.
Dude, I'm kind of excited. Like, you know, I don't have any kids yet, but like, you just got married, and so it's like one day have kids, and it's just like, boy or girl, raising it is gonna be a trip. That's gonna be an experience. That's gonna be.
I was just talking about this with a friend of mine. I was like, I'm definitely adopting a boy. That is happening.
What do you think you're gonna adopt versus have a kid?
That's a whole.
What, your swimmies don't work, dude? What I mean,
work.
okay.
This is super far in the future, and how old are you?
29.
I'm not 29.
Yeah, but you're like what, 31?
Yeah. So
that's like 29.
Okay. I don't know what that means. But I feel as though that is not something. Oh man, this is weird. I'm not in a relationship at the moment. Now this could change. Like if this changes.
Keep swiping, bro.
I'm so over it. I uninstalled all this shit off of my phone, man. Like I can't do it anymore.
Are you into nurses? I can find you a nurse, dude.
I don't care.
You're not opposed, yeah.
Yeah, I don't care about like what.
You don't care what they do.
I don't really not necessarily like unless you're doing drugs or something like that. You're selling,
doing drugs,
selling drugs, or
that's not really a job. Also,
I mean, hey, some people make it a job, but you know, I don't know. I just feel like it hasn't. I haven't found that person. Rephrase that. That hasn't happened for me where it's been a conversation with someone that I've been with, so that it's not something that I see very close in the future, and because it's not something that's close in the future, I feel like the better option for me would be to adopt a kid.
Sure.
If that makes any sense.
Yeah.
Or if I do end up, like, the option is available for me to adopt a kid on my own. So like I don't.
They honestly, they probably won't give one to you. Like,
dude,
and
I know
it's not fair.
No.
Because I think actually, and I'm saying this with respect, you would be a great dad.
Oh, thanks.
Yeah.
I know that I've thought about that too. Like
you would be phenomenal.
What would be required for me to be accepted to do something like that is like astronomically high. Like, because I understand the system works, but it's also not something that I'm like, oh man, if I can't do it my entire life, my purpose.
Yeah, it wasn't like this was what I set out to do.
This is what I wanted. Like, it's just like it seems like the more plausible thing, but life sometimes has a way of just like, hey, surprise, motherfucker! Like, this is what's happening. So I don't know. I don't want to say it. I'm not gonna say it. I was gonna say it. I was gonna fucking self-report myself.
What are we, like 2 hours deep? It's time to get into strange territory. That's something like I've noticed with podcasts. I listen to people talk. dude, it's like a different person 2.5 hours in
Yeah.
versus like minute 0. It's
There's
like
a guy. There's a dude. Man, I've really fallen off on watching Joe Rogan stuff recently. But there's a dude.
hasn't been good. Hasn't been good.
No?
But I think everyone goes through this cycle. Every
Yeah.
JRE fan, like
I'm just like, honestly, the Spotify thing, it fucked me up. I don't listen to stuff through Spotify. I did everything I had through YouTube.
I do a
like,
lot. Yeah,
so,
but it worked out for me.
I have premium, so that was where I would put the thing on, and then I'd.
You got premium? You still don't listen to him?
Well, I have YouTube Premium.
Oh,
Spotify,
I thought you had Spotify
Nah,
Premium.
If I had Spotify Premium, I probably would listen to it, but I don't use that platform enough.
Yeah.
So, but there was a dude he had on that was talking about how he hitchhiked across like the entire like US.
I missed that one.
He's a dude like I don't remember his name, but he had a big old Hawaiian shirt, big beard, like he looked like a Hawaiian dude. Like, yeah.
You know, I was born in Hawaii.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh.
I'm not Hawaiian.
Actually, I think I remember someone. I think either you told me. Yeah.
Right. They call people like me like Howleys. I'm not,
Howleys.
but it's not Howley. Howley is like white people that just visit. It's local. I'm a local.
Okay.
So if I can go there and get like property, they wouldn't be like,
yeah,
you know, you're a complete asshole. It would just be like, you're a little bit of one.
But that guy, he was talking about how like he would get in the car with people, and he's like, for the first like,
right.
hour,
Dude, I listened to this. Never mind, I did. I know what you're talking about.
The first hour, he's like, there's normal chatting, whatever.
Right. Shooting the shit,
like,
yeah.
There's a shift that happens where they're like, oh wait, I'm never seeing this guy again. Like, and then he starts saying something I wouldn't even be comfortable with.
Right. They tell
like,
you
stuff, they just
the
tell him
deepest, darkest
crazy
secrets.
shit, and I'm just like, holy shit. Like, I would love to do that.
Yeah.
But I would want to tell those stories somehow. And I guess that's probably what he did, actually.
Well, isn't what we're doing a form of that?
That's true. Yeah.
Right? Because the whole, like, what I like is that, I mean, we're kind of locked in. Like, Joe Rogan always says this thing about, like, you know, no phones, locked in. We're just, I mean, you know, it's just two people talking.
Yeah.
No, nothing, no fancy. No, I mean, we're just, you know,
Yeah.
the microphones are just a, you know, just set them up, whatever.
Yeah,
but,
like there, yeah.
And I don't ever do this with people in general, although I like to have conversations. It's always like at work, you're just talking to people and then you get distracted and you gotta, like, you know, and also it's just, there's so much baggage with, what are we trying to accomplish here? What are we trying to do? And it's like, we're not trying to do anything, right? We're just trying to, like,
we're just talking.
Yeah.
That is the beauty of what I think brings me back to this over and over and over.
Yeah.
Over again. Like, I think I could stop doing this for a while and then I would want to.
You'd want to do it again.
Yeah. There's I think that's something that's just generally missing. People are very busy. They're always trying to do something. Oh, I gotta go do this. I gotta go, like, okay, cool.
And what are you prioritizing over genuine conversation? Like, what could you possibly, what's better than that?
I mean, for some people, it's necessary. Like, they need to make money. So, like, they're
Dude,
rushing to make
I was
money.
thinking about this the other day. Do you know how many hours of our day are spent making money? We make way more money than we need to live off of. Like,
kind of.
You'll agree with what I'm saying.
Okay.
We spend like 8 hours typically at work, 40 hours a week.
Right.
That's, yes, at the hunter-gatherer level, you would spend all day hunting for food so that you could eat that night.
Right.
So that's living. I mean, that's spending. But then I read a book by Noval Harari, I think that's his name, called Sapiens. Have you heard of this book?
No.
He talks about prehistory, like, just, you know, how humans evolved over the time, over the ages. And he talks about how pre-humans, then you had hunter-gatherers, and they had leisure time. If you look at their skeletons, they were pretty healthy. They stood upright. You know, they were, you know, physically fit. Their bones were strong. Teeth were, you know, you could tell they had a meat diet.
Yeah.
And then we had where you build fields, agriculture. People went from nomadic tribes to cities. Settlers. Yeah. Right. And then you, instead of hunting for your food every day, you went to the fields and toiled and created food and put it in a granary for the winter. So you could stay in one spot as opposed to moving because you had to for the weather. So that changed culture. Now people sat, they had universities, they had, you know, they developed writing, they developed all this stuff. And he goes over, they developed currency because now you could trade and barter.
Yeah.
But if you look at their their skeletons, their skulls, their people became hunched over. They had physical ailments because they're toiling in the field for hours and hours. They worked a lot more hours because when you go out and hunt, you're chilling with the guys. Like you're like, we're fucking going out there and hunting this is fun, dude. Yeah. And you come back and have a little ceremony and do ayahuasca or whatever. Yeah. Like you're chilling, bro. And then now you got to work all day. And now we have this we're the most extreme form of that. If you look at, pretend you just looked at human skulls now, all people disappeared or it's 1,000 years in the future and you're studying 2022, you would see obese people with the skulls. They would be like hunched over. Right now, I've been this entire fucking podcast, I've been hunched over because that's what I'm used to because I'm at a computer, because I'm doing things, because I'm, not to say I'm unhealthy, but just we are an unhealthy culture.
Right.
And we spend so many hours of our day trying to maintain food, shelter, electronics, things we like. I mean, it's a pretty good life, and our average lifespan has gone up, but are we healthier along with it? Because American culture, we're going down. The rest of the world, like European societies, tend to go up, and they smoke like a pack a day over there. I mean, they're just like I'm joking, but they don't eat the kind of shit that we put in our bodies, processed food, sugars, things like that. Like we hit this period where we were healthy and now we're like unhealthy, and you're gonna see that with just the way culture is, the way society is. And where I'm kind of going with that is like I'm not sure the point he made in Sapiens is, yes, we've developed all these fancy new technology and all this. Was it always in our best interest? Because we have less leisure time.
Definitely not.
You and me, if we grew up in hunter-gatherer society, we'd be chilling by the fire. We'd be having a podcast every night.
Well, I mean, maybe. I think if we grew up in that time, we would probably just be a hunter.
But don't you think more people have genuine conversations during?
Oh, sure, absolutely, yeah.
What do we do now?
Yeah, we'd definitely be doing that as well. But like, I think you can have both. Like, I thought of what my ideal 50-year-old Joe. I know how I want to live at that point. I don't know if I'll be able to, but I know what that ideal looks like, and it doesn't have like a huge house, or
it's not stuff.
It's not stuff. It's like I want the minimum for me to be happy, and then like people. That is I care more about that.
Yeah.
But it doesn't need to be like a million people. I don't do this because like I don't want to say it's like, would I be happy if the stuff that I did was enjoyed by millions of people? Sure. That would be great. But I would be happier if I knew that there were like 2 to 3 people that I knew that if I wanted to go see them, I would have a good time and I would have real conversations like every single time I would see them. Like that I value way more than that. So like I try not to be attached to this kind of stuff because I love it. Don't get me wrong. I enjoy doing it. The whole point of even this podcast was I knew that I needed to get back into the swing of things. There's that calling to do it.
Yep.
But at the end of the day, if something happens and like I can't do this anymore, that's not gonna kill me.
You'll never not be able to do this because this can be done. If your apartment burned down,
right?
You would, and all the equipment was lost, you could still do this on an iPhone. It's
true.
possible.
That's true. It's possible.
If you had the drive to do it, you'd be.
This is that small little bit left of me that's like, it has to be the best. I struggle with these fucking cameras before you got
Dude,
here.
you got a nice setup, by the way. I mean,
thank you. I was like, one of them worked and the other one didn't. I was like, what the fuck? I set this up before and it worked perfectly fine.
Must work.
And I was just like, well, all right, we got to figure this out. I could have totally shot this on wide the entire time and it'd been perfectly fine.
Right.
But there's something about like in my head, I'm like, if I'm doing this, I want it to be as nice as I've envisioned it in my head.
Right.
So
I get it.
Yeah. I think that's the small part of me that's still left of that like perfectionist a little bit. But it's good and bad. It's good because it makes stuff like this. It's cool. Like I think I at least get some value knowing that when I upload a video of a podcast or something like that, most people on Twitch that do stuff like this, it's like little talking squares. That's what they have. It's like my little talking square and another talking square, and that's fine. I've
Oh,
done
you mean
those.
like on Discord or something,
Yeah,
or just
yeah,
okay?
yeah. That's the and
They don't have any they don't care about the production of it.
right, and
Okay.
which is fine. I've done that
I get
before
it.
too, especially like peak COVID stuff. Like I was like, okay, well, I need to keep making
I
stuff.
think you and me did it.
Yeah, we did.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and
it was like-
that was
it-
we had to.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's fine. But there's something that I really value about sitting down across from someone. So I don't mind doing those every now and then, but like if I ever got into the string of like doing those only, I think that would be kind of frustrating for me. I don't know. I need to be talking to someone who is talking to me versus talking to a screen. So,
I get it.
but
I get it. The good part is, as an art form, you can do whatever the hell
true.
you want.
I thought about
It's on you whether it's good or bad based on your judgment, and you can't expect perfection the first time, but you can strive towards
keep adding onto it. Like there's little things about this time where like the lighting wasn't exactly where I wanted to be. I can work on that stuff in the like little small stuff like that I think like that kind of stuff. I'm like,
Well, don't you feel like you're getting better as a podcaster,
oh yeah, absolutely.
as a
I
host,
think
as
this in general is a little rusty getting back into the swing of stuff, but like
dude, I think you'd be great.
yeah,
I don't
Okay.
let them decide.
Yeah,
you know,
I mean, you guys-
it's not.
argue about that in the comments.
Yeah.
It's like, no, you suck. No, this is great. But yeah, what I'm more excited about.
Here's what I want to know from people is when you started to listen, at what point did you lose interest?
That's fair. Yeah, that's a solid question. Yeah, leave that comment before you leave.
They're not going to get this far in
they might not.
I mean, some people will,
Some people
but they're not going to comment that part. They'll be like,
Yeah.
I'm listening till the end. I love you. I love you guys or whatever.
What I'm really excited about going forward, especially this, because before when I was making episodes before, I did not have this. I didn't have as what's the word I'm looking for? As much of a fleshed out life as I do now. So I'm in contact with a bunch of more different people that I can bring on. And don't get me wrong, especially you and Leia. And
Leia's
Corey.
great to
If
talk to.
Leia's-
You know, I've only spoken to her maybe once or twice, and she stands out in my mind
Yeah,
as someone
that's-
who's
that's what she does.
interesting.
Like I will have like you guys, Corey, like Steve. I'll have you guys on all
Don't
the
know
time.
Corey.
No, not Corey. He would do it if I asked him to do it. I think, but
Of
like,
course he would.
but he would do it begrudgingly, and then he would
You,
be like,
the
"Oh, no,
thing with
it's not
Corey
good."
is you got to make whatever you're trying to get him to do better than his default, and his default he loves,
That's fair.
which is by the way, sitting in his room on Discord with his buddies playing Valorant or some bullshit. Yeah.
I don't know. I say all that to say, like, there are a group of people that I would do this every day, like once a week. Well, I'd say every week. Actually, that's not true. I'd do this like once a week, and I could have the same people on. But there are standout episodes in my brain of like the people that I normally wouldn't have had a chance to have these long conversations. Like D, the girl that did these tattoos.
Yeah.
That was one of my favorite episodes.
Yeah.
I had Deputy Gomez on. I love calling him that now because I've known him before he was Deputy Gomez, but he's Deputy Gomez. That was a great.
It's got to be, yeah.
Like I love those, and otherwise, if I didn't expand my circle, I wouldn't have had that. So now that I have like this whole new thing with fighting and like some of the other stuff that's going on in my life, like it's pretty cool. I'm excited to talk to those people about like what was your road like going up, like when did you start doing this? Like that stuff's interesting to me. So, and I think going forward,
You got to double down on interesting stuff to you.
to me, yes,
Yes.
that's
That's
the
gonna
only way,
keep
'cause
this thing
otherwise it goes away real quick.
Listen.
Like, yeah,
Fuck whoever's listening.
yeah.
Fuck whoever's listening. Okay, it's
You gotta have.
no. Listen to me. You got to double down on this. It's about what you find interesting.
Yeah.
You Joe, because what you Joe, that the listener is gonna like if you double down on what you, Joe, like, not what they want. What you, yeah. Except for Steven. Everyone except Steven. Except for Steven. But do you know what I mean? Like, and Steven actually will to some extent will probably agree with what I'm saying. It's like he's got to do what he wants. It's not about what, because if you're acting apart for what other people want, people see through that like really quickly.
Even if they don't see through it, like you will. For I say you, but for me personally, that burns me out so fast.
You can't sustain it.
It's like I cannot like. I'm struggling now because like there are days where I'll come on like I'm gonna stream and I sit down on my computer like I hate games. I hate video games right now. Like,
dude, you know
that's out
real
there
talk.
I really want to sit down and
do you want to know? I've always wondered why you kept up the streaming. I respect it, but it's like I don't think you like it.
No. I could.
What are we doing here?
So like I could sit down if I had an audience, like an active audience. I could sit down and do like the just chatting thing. I could sit there and like react to videos because I have a lot of different opinions on a lot of stuff that come out, and I think that they're nuanced enough that they're worth listening to, and I think they're interesting. So I could do that. The problem is I don't have the audience size to do something like that. So the way I look at it is I go, okay, well, I can do podcasts, I can make YouTube videos. So that's what I'm going to focus on doing. Like those are going to be the two main things. Video game streams, man, like, dude,
why do you keep doing it? I mean, I get it's easy to do. Load up a video game, record your screen.
It's not though. It's not anymore.
Don't do it. Don't do it.
The problem though is I stream the podcast there. So I think
I get it.
I found a solution.
Do more podcasts.
So I'm doing more podcast like things. So I have some stuff coming up that's not video game streams, and there'll be way less video game streams.
What's Monka S? What does he mean in this context?
It's just like the little Pepe frog, but he's got like big eyes.
So what is he trying to say?
It's an emote. It's just like
I know it's an emote.
Like almost like a surprised kind of like oh shit face.
Oh okay, all right. I got you. Yeah.
But I have some stuff coming up that's not video game streams. I will probably talk about
I just say that
games.
as a person that watches stream that goes like, man, Joe's not like he just doesn't look happy about doing this. Like you feel like you're forcing yourself, and like
very much forcing.
You do understand that people pick up on that.
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
Like this guy's just here to do it. Like he's just making content.
There's some games. The thing that sucks is like the games that I really really enjoy are usually the games that I'm playing off stream. Like there's some indie games or if I'm gonna play a game on stream, the only way I'm gonna have fun is if I'm making fun of the game. So like the next video game stream that I'm doing, I'm playing Anthem.
Yeah.
I can't wait to do that. That's gonna be fun.
Just talk shit about it.
The game is trash. Like the game is absolute dog shit. So like I can't wait to do that. But I played this game called Sable that I really love, but it's a very quiet game. Like it's not one of those games you're like, oh shit, hype, like this shit. So like it's a game that's a little bit more difficult to stream, so I didn't bother. I just sat there and enjoyed the game, and I think what I'm gonna do is kind of start, instead of streaming those, anytime I'm sitting down playing a game that I actually enjoy, I'm just gonna record it, and then I might do some like
you want to make some content around it.
Yes, like so there's certain games that I play. Like the thing about Sable that really dragged me into it wasn't just the Sable. The game is really good. But it's good for like such a weird thing. Like did you play Breath of the Wild? Zelda came out. So the game is very similar to that.
Phenomenal.
And yeah.
Phenomenal game.
So imagine that game with no combat.
Okay.
And it's just peaceful.
Still sounds good.
Solid soundtrack, puzzles, exploration, climbing on shit. Like that's what Sable is. And there's something about that formula that was just like, I was like, oh man, this is beautiful. This is like an art thing that somebody toiled over and made, and like I'm enjoying it for that sake. And if you wrote it down on a piece of paper and told me you're gonna play a game like that, I'd be like, this seems boring as hell. Why would I do this?
Yeah.
But the moment that I start there, like the moment that the title screen kind of went up for me, I was
something
like,
about it.
I was just like,
I'm in.
I get it. And like I don't know. I've had multiple
You should talk about that.
That's the thing. So like I think I have to record those games and then maybe write those thoughts down and then make videos on stuff like that.
So we're a couple hour, or what are we, hour and a half in?
Let me see where we're at. Maybe 2 hours.
2 hours?
2 hours, 2 hours, 3 minutes.
Okay, so because I don't want.
Yeah, I don't want to do stupid one.
Well, no. I don't mind that part. I was gonna say I don't want what I'm about to say. Like it's not something I want to advertise or whatever. But like I wrote 2 books during the pandemic. It's an exaggeration. I wrote a book and a half. I did NaNoWriMo, National Writing Month for November.
Okay.
So I only got, the second book only has 30 or 40,000 words, but the first book has 85,000 words as I sit right here, and it's pretty much complete. I probably have about 10,000 more words that I want to add to it.
Okay.
That's that crazy.
Okay, so
I'll tell anyone that.
I'm very happy that you told me
right
this because
that's what I told you.
So that's been something that I've wanted to do for a really long time.
I recommend it
but it's, for me, it's I would need to write fiction.
It's hard. Both are fiction.
Yeah, both of yours are fiction.
Yeah.
As well? Okay, yeah. I'm gonna pick your brain a lot. That's gonna happen.
Sure.
Because
they're not done. They're not published. They're not edited. The first one is not edited. I went back. I mean, it's a cohesive book. I mean, if you read it, you'd be like, all right, I kind of see what's going on. But what I did is I wrote the story to myself.
Okay.
Because I try to tell other people with my writing, and I realized that I just don't even know. I don't even know the story yet. Like, it's an idea, and then I wrote it down. By the way, Steven says join TikTok,
yeah, I see that.
which is amazing because you know about Steven. He's fucking blowing up on TikTok, which I am so proud. I think that's so awesome. I would love if you blew up. Like, I want people to succeed. All the people we know.
I've not interacted with TikTok a lot, but I'm not opposed to it. I would just I'd be booming for a little bit, like
but everyone says that and you'll be fine. But anyway, so writing, such a rewarding experience.
This channel called Hello Future Me.
I mean, just by the name of it, I could sort of guess. I don't think I've ever watched it, but I mean, maybe.
So like one of the, I think 2 or 3 channels that I watch that's just about writing and instruction.
Okay.
One of the reasons why
you like to watch videos about that?
I fucking love that shit, dude. Like that.
Hey, get closer to the mic.
Oh,
I'm just kidding.
You're right. Man, it's so crazy. I guess I never have thought about that. I guess talking about that but
I don't want to tell anyone because I wrote them, but I don't want to. They're not a thing yet. I don't want to tell people. I want it to be my thing, and people are like, what the fuck? You got published? It's like, yeah, I got published. Like,
yeah.
I want that to be the.
You don't have to. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. Like,
I'm kind of saying this because I've thought about this. Just getting meta for a second.
Yeah.
What if you put really interesting shit 2 hours into a podcast and nobody ever finds it until later?
True, yeah.
Like that's that's like.
It's like, oh well, you should have listened.
You should have.
Yeah. Okay, so a lot of the joy that I get from Wheel of Time, Carnival Row, even for the people that watch that channel and have heard of it, when I talk about Avatar: The Last Airbender, it is like they use that show as an example for a reason. That it's almost perfectly written.
Okay.
It's so good.
Okay.
Like, if you have not watched it, you have to watch it.
I'm going to watch it.
And it's weird because it's like a cartoon or whatever that was on Nickelodeon for some shit.
Yeah. And
no
business being
no business being as good as it was. Like, it's just really, really well written. Like, it doesn't hammer you over the head with concepts.
Right.
It's very subtle. There's what is the song? There's an episode about Uncle Iroh's son that died in a war. And it's like a small
Zuko.
Yeah, like the turning arc of the main villain is just written so well. But like, man, I can't remember what Little Soldier Boy, I think is what it's called. Something like that. It's
like the rapper?
It's no. Yeah,
okay.
I probably enunciated that pretty badly.
Kanye says he's one of the most influential rappers of all time. I'm like, I don't know about that, Kanye.
About Soldier Boy?
Yeah. The clip. Look at the clip.
Okay. Kanye.
Google it. Yeah.
Okay, buddy.
I listened to Donda recently. It was good.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
I
very.
God, I implore anyone who has not seen that show to see. You don't even need, like, if you want something to entice you to watch the rest of the show, I would find that episode that is about
Right.
Iroh,
Yeah.
and just watch that, and
Okay.
then after you're hooked after that, because you will be, you go back and watch the rest of the show. It's so well written. It's like I would recommend that you check out that channel.
You made me so excited when you were talking about stories. Like,
Yeah.
is there something about a story that's like stories that are good? It's that person's story. Like, if it's about their life or
Yeah.
something they made. Like, again, writing these books, it's like, it's my story. Like, no one else thought of it. I got influenced from the things that I find.
Right.
But a good story, it's just like, that's valuable. It's ethereal. It's
Yep.
not like an object that you can be like, this is a thing worth this much money. It's like, it's something special, and you can do it for free.
Yeah.
You can put a lot of effort
Yep.
into it. It can be told. It can be like, that's what I love about comedians. They tell funny stories. Like,
Yeah.
isn't that great? Like,
Yeah.
you just tell something like a funny interaction, and I don't give a fuck that they're making details up. They're
Yeah,
exaggerating.
no, who cares?
Dude, why would you let the truth get in the way of a good story? Like, what are we doing here? We're trying to
actually this wasn't true, so I gotta fuck that.
yeah, fuck that, dude. Tell me a good story. Like, I'm not saying make up stuff, but like, even movies based on true events. Like, yes, it's not exactly how it happened. It's but you're telling me something in history that I could go back and, you know, even the story of history, because we all know history is there's a study of field called meta history, which is about the historians that wrote about history at the time that they were writing it. It's like, that's a whole thing.
Yeah.
History is written by the victors, dude.
Yeah.
It's like
yeah. There's a lot of stories that don't get told because
what you and me think about World War II that we grew up in high school is totally
Yeah.
different than what the
Yeah.
Europeans, like, they have a different than the Japan. If you go to
Yeah.
Japan, you know, I was in Ethiopia. Ethiopians don't believe that they were ever invaded by the Italians. But if you look at history, the Italians came over, they took over Italy. People eat pizza, or they took over Ethiopia. Like, people eat pizza in Ethiopia because of the Italians. And you know, just the people there, they don't believe they were ever. It's just like, and if you got talking to them, they would be like, oh, well, here's why we believe that. And they would all be right because they know more
yeah.
or different things than you and I know about their country. Like, I know barely anything about them. But it's like, meta history is a whole different thing. Like, that is the story of history. Like, I don't know. I'm just starting to think, like, all we have, this is a very Eastern way of thinking, but like, all we have is the present moment, like right now. Because what you and me, I'm going to look back at this podcast, we fucking recorded it, but other people that aren't here right now are going to look back on this and like have their certain thoughts about, like, oh, this is what he meant, this is what Joe meant.
Yeah.
And it's like, you guys aren't right.
Yeah.
You weren't there. You weren't there. You didn't know how it went down. You didn't know how we got to the point in the conversation where we did. And even me, later on watching this, I'll be like, I was there, and I don't remember how that happened.
Yeah.
And then I might even disagree with how we got to the where
Yeah.
we're talking about. I'll be like, that's not what I meant in that context. At the time, I think I was. But who's right? Like,
Yeah.
all we have is the present moment. We don't have, like, the way JFK was assassinated. People, like, disagree with, you know, he was shot. It went back into the left. You
Yeah.
know, it's a conspiracy theory. You could see 3 shots. You can, dude, like, nobody knows. 9/11? Did you, like, there are people that doubt 9/11.
Yeah.
You and me lived it.
Yeah.
You were what, 12, 13?
I probably 13. 'Cause I was in middle school. I remember when it happened.
Did you only hear that the second plane went through? Did you watch it on TV? I watched it like live on TV. I
watched
didn't
it live on
realize.
TV as well. They took all the kids and they took us out of the main school and brought us to a secondary building.
Okay.
And then they were playing it on the TV while we're in there. So which is wild. Yeah.
What?
So when this happened for me, I used to get bused from my main public school
To the white schools? I'm so sorry.
basically.
I'm just trying to make people laugh. I don't even mean it. Sorry.
It makes me laugh. That's
We're not that old.
Yeah. You'd be surprised.
Oh no, this is Florida. I'm learning
No,
about.
I grew up in South Carolina, dog. Like,
Oh, right, you did tell me that.
There was some like there was a public school and there was a private school, but the private school would change its prices for black people. to make it so that only like this is while I was growing up, so it still existed, but it was just one of those things that kind of was like, yeah, we know that they do this. This is funny, right? Like, this is ridiculous. This is so stupid. Oh, racist. Like, it was just like.
Do you believe in that, or do you? I think this term is a good one, like the bigotry of low expectations.
Oh yeah.
When I hear fucking liberals talk about what they're so like, oh, black people are poor, so they do this. It's like, oh my god. That's just like you don't know anyone. Like, you don't know what you're talking about. Like, I don't know. I'm not trying to tell them like I'm right, you're wrong, screaming at the screen. I'm just like, oh man, don't say stuff you don't know about. I don't know. I'm sorry. I don't.
No, it's more of when I hear stuff like that, I go like, what? Why do you think that? Outside of them, outside of
ideology,
outside of their skin color, because like, okay, so like, if somebody,
I don't want to take us down here. We can still finish 9/11, but
that's a whole nother episode. But no, I would get bused from the main public school to another school because I took like I forget what they're called. It was like advanced courses essentially. So they would bus me to
take those AP class or honors or whatever.
They would bus me over there to take those classes. And then that was when it happened, was the moment that I got to that school.
Yeah.
So like we got there to the school, and everyone was like, all right, cool. And then they're like, all right, well, you're getting right back over, like you're going back over here and we're going to put you guys in this like trailer.
That's weird. Like auditorium and then you're just like watching it.
Yeah. And so
it's a weird moment that like you see the second plane go in, but now people believe that it didn't happen. And it's like,
no, we saw it.
We saw it happen, but what did we see? Like, I mean, I'm not a truther or whatever. I believe that it happened the way the narrative happened or whatever. But it's like, it's revisionist history. People believe the what's it called, the 1619 project. You've heard about this?
I've heard about that, but I'm not. I don't have all the details. So but I've just heard. Yeah,
it's a bunch of weird. I don't. I'm talking out of my ass here. I don't actually know about it. So correct me if I'm wrong. I'm gonna get some details wrong. It's about a bunch of like liberal people that are trying to do revisionist history on American culture, saying that we're built on white supremacy, whites. It's very like woke, anti, like the only reason America exists is because of racism and slavery. And instead of the 1776, it started in.
I remember this now. Yeah. Okay. Someone explained this in like a old Destiny video I was watching, so it's all coming back to me now.
Yeah, and it's kind of like the dangerous part of like critical race theory, and I don't know. I'm getting into territory I don't know about, but it's just like I just think ideologically you don't want to. I guess what I just made the argument that reality isn't real. There's meta history, all that stuff, and then I'm trying to say this ideologically is wrong, but I don't know if that. Hey, we're 2 hours something in, man. I have 4 white classes. You shouldn't believe a word I said. Critical thinking.
Oh man,
can I pee real quick, or like is that? Or we don't wrap up?
We can wrap it.
Okay.
Like, this was awesome. I super enjoyed this. I just I think the next one I do probably will be a solo one because I need to get practice with doing those. So I'll probably be doing that. But yeah, man, this is awesome. This is dope. I appreciate you.
Podcasting's fun, dude. It's dope.
Very fun. It's super fun. Do
you think we're going to talk about half the things we talked about?
No, not at all.
No.
But that's what makes it
fun. You think it went well?
Yeah.
I think it went good and bad. I think I went off on some tangents that I probably someone out there's like, hey, I wish I could know more about it. Yeah. You can like reach. This can be a conversation, right? You would agree, right?
That was kind of the other reason why I wanted to stream these live. Was because
I love having Steven.
Yeah, like I like having
type in the chat, bro.
Typing in chat. Like, if for those of you that are just watching this on YouTube, you can go on Twitch. You can do it on YouTube. I stream it on YouTube and Twitch, just so that anyone that wants to be a part of. If you hear us say something, you're like, oh shit, what about?
Dude,
this?
tell me more about that.
Yeah,
they can contact me. They can contact you. This is on your channel. Like. They can message you. They can send you an email. If someone sent you like a 1 paragraph, hey, this is about this. Like,
I did a series of episodes on. I think I did like 3 podcasts, kind of centered around. It was during that George Floyd stuff, but I had somebody that sent me like this massive paragraph about their thoughts on it, but they didn't want to go. They didn't want to come on the podcast.
I remember that. I remember that.
So what I did was I was like, okay, cool. I'm going to use this as the backbone for the next 3 episodes. And I had different people come on with different perspectives about everything, and I love that shit.
Dude, they got
If you guys,
they gotta catch you while you're this size, because once you get you'll be like, I got too many.
I got too many.
I truly hope you get to that point. Like,
Yeah.
And I think you will if you stick with it. It may not come the way that you're expecting it.
It might be through TikTok.
It might be through fucking TikTok.
But
yeah, all right.
yeah. Thanks again, man. I guess.
Dude, thank you. It's an opportunity.
Yeah.
Right? You text me, you're like, hey, dude, join. I'm like, this is amazing, because I just love talking. I love talking to you. I love the I don't want to say magic. Now that's a tainted word after this conversation. I love whatever the reaction that happens, because this is put out, right? Once it's done, it's done.
Yeah.
You upload it, and like, what's gonna happen? Maybe nothing. Yeah. Maybe something in 5 years. Maybe someone looks at this. Maybe your kid and that you adopt in 20 years.
Yeah,
like, you know what I mean? Like, they look back and they're like, dude, that was when he first talked about it. Like, there's crazy shit that could happen. Why not, dude?
Yeah.
Like, why not?
It's interesting now that you say that. All the audio episodes have been up on Spotify. I never look at those metrics. I have no idea what those are looking like.
You could be like,
I could go on there and be like, oh shit, I have 1 million downloads, and I've just not known.
Yeah.
But
dude, and you know, I just read that something will pop, something will work, and that just, you feel like I did all this hard work and then it happened, and it's like,
off of this thing,
you'd be off of that, like
like the book thing that you did.
Yeah,
you're just like, oh, okay, all right,
dude, I sat down and did 1,500 words a day, and then after a couple months, I just had a book, and I was like, what?
That's
like,
crazy.
I kept going, like, and it's gonna be a thing one day. Like,
I'm gonna pick your brain on that whole process.
Yeah, it's another episode. All right, yeah.
But thanks again, man.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Thank you, everybody, for watching and all that good stuff. We're back to doing these things weekly, so every Thursday is when they'll get uploaded, but you'll see them live every Monday. So all that good stuff. Thanks for watching, and peace.
Peace.